Humans have existed for 250,000 years, and only the last 4,000 truly mattered. A low voice echoed. The screen flickered, and the world seemed to rewind into a savage wilderness. In the dim glow of night, humans huddled around tiny bonfires. Their only warmth came from fragile flames that could be snuffed out with a single gust of wind. In awe of everything unknown, humans chose worship. They feared what they could not understand, and named it gods and demons. They prayed to creatures with human heads and bird bodies, to stones that seemed alive, begging forgiveness, begging salvation. Then, the screen shifted again. Strange, unfamiliar, impossible. As humanity began to understand the world, monsters should have vanished. As reason spread, ignorance should have retreated. But the unexplainable did not disappear. It remained, as if the universe itself insisted on being absurd. Humans can no longer live in fear. Nothing will protect us, so we must protect ourselves. Countless figures appeared on the screen, faces blurred, all wearing the same uniform. They fought in the shadows, keeping them out of public sight, so everyone else could live in a normal, sane world. Some died in silence, collapsing without a sound. Some vanished into darkness, leaving no trace behind. But more stepped forward, took the torch, and walked straight into the night, burning, enduring, refusing to stop. The world was not beautiful, but someone was carrying its weight for you. They proved it with their lives. The mood is on point, Tony Stark said, swirling the red wine in his glass. This is blockbuster-level production, because that's what it was. A movie. It looked great. It sounded convincing, but anyone who believed it was an idiot. Tony Stark had seen the world, bought it, rebuilt it, broken it, fixed it. If something like a Foundation existed, he would have heard of it. This had to be another bitter hacker trying to stir up chaos and steal the spotlight. Foundation? Doesn't exist. Absolutely doesn't exist. SHIELD, an organization that protects the world. Nick Fury's expression was darker than a storm. Phil Coulson's investigation had gone nowhere. Every lead was fake. Every trail ended in smoke. And now some ancient, righteous group that supposedly survived from antiquity to the present day? If that was real, then what was SHIELD? A joke? A cheap imitation? Uncontrolled power, Fury said coldly, will not be allowed on Earth. He distrusted everything by instinct, especially something backed by hacking this terrifying. And worse, it felt old, ancient, too ancient. Wakanda, an organization hidden behind the world, T'Challa frowned. Wakanda lived behind a mask too. The world saw a poor nation. In truth, it held the strongest technology on Earth. Because of that, he could almost accept the idea. Almost. His eyes stayed cautious, unconvinced. Guard the world? Wanda Maximoff narrowed her eyes. Chaos magic flowed across her fingers as she tried to twist reality itself, to interfere with the screen hanging in the sky. Nothing happened, not even a ripple. Ow! Wanda froze, shock flickering across her face. For the first time, she couldn't affect it. Has such a force ever existed on Earth? The Ancient One's brows knitted tightly. She reached for the eye of Agamotto by instinct, ready to observe through time. But the moment she tried, terror surged through the river of time. Auras, presences, powers so vast they made even her heart tighten. Entities carrying Mephisto's stench, yet far beyond him. So could crush him like dust. The timeline that once felt calm and readable became a deadly ocean. And in a distant era, far, far away, something moved. A dragon, a mother of dragons, drifting through the void of history. Its scales shimmered with light, as if each one carried the weight of a world. Then, as if it noticed her gaze, it slowly began to turn its head. Not good. The Ancient One's pupils shrank. She snapped the eye shut instantly. When she returned to herself, her back was soaked in cold sweat, and deep in her eyes, faint shadows of dragons still coiled and grew. A partner that protects justice? Superman blinked. For the first time in a long while, the burden on his shoulders felt lighter. Gotham City. Foundation. Bruce Wayne's gaze hardened beneath the black cowl. Distrust came naturally to him. Weakness, whether it's a hacker or a real organization. I will find every weakness they have. His jaw tightened with determination. Earth again, from the dark side of the moon, uncertain voices murmured with surprise and doubt. Something had changed. Something had moved. One stone had stirred 1,000 waves. Some people quietly prepared for war. Some were shaken by the sheer scale of the power on display. But most still laughed it off as a scam, a prank, a grand illusion crafted by a top-tier hacker. Law enforcement agencies moved quickly, trying to track the source and arrest whoever was responsible. However, as the world spiraled into chaos, the screen's movie reached its end and shifted into something new. Exposure. First containment object, SCP-500. Panacea. Oral administration. Within 2 hours, it cures any known or unknown disease. A small, ordinary plastic pill bottle appeared on screen. Inside were simple red tablets. Beside it, only a few clean lines of description. Something that looked harmless, almost boring, and yet the narration hit like thunder. Across the world, countless eyes widened, and no one could look away. Humans have existed for 250,000 years, and only the last 4,000 truly mattered. A low voice echoed. The screen flickered, and the world seemed to rewind into a savage wilderness. In the dim glow of night, humans huddled around tiny bonfires. Their only warmth came from fragile flames that could be snuffed out with a single gust of wind. In awe of everything unknown, humans chose worship. They feared what they could not understand, and named it gods and demons. They prayed to creatures with human heads and bird bodies, to stones that seemed alive, begging forgiveness, begging salvation. Then, the screen shifted again. Strange, unfamiliar, impossible. As humanity began to understand the world, monsters should have vanished. As reason spread, ignorance should have retreated. But the unexplainable did not disappear. It remained, as if the universe itself insisted on being absurd. Humans can no longer live in fear. Nothing will protect us, so we must protect ourselves. Countless figures appeared on the screen, faces blurred, all wearing the same uniform. They fought in the shadows, keeping them out of public sight, so everyone else could live in a normal, sane world. Some died in silence, collapsing without a sound. Some vanished into darkness, leaving no trace behind. But more stepped forward, took the torch, and walked straight into the night, burning, enduring, refusing to stop. The world was not beautiful, but someone was carrying its weight for you. They proved it with their lives. The mood is on point, Tony Stark said, swirling the red wine in his glass. This is blockbuster-level production, because that's what it was. A movie. It looked great. It sounded convincing, but anyone who believed it was an idiot. Tony Stark had seen the world, bought it, rebuilt it, broken it, fixed it. If something like a Foundation existed, he would have heard of it. This had to be another bitter hacker trying to stir up chaos and steal the spotlight. Foundation? Doesn't exist. Absolutely doesn't exist. SHIELD, an organization that protects the world. Nick Fury's expression was darker than a storm. Phil Coulson's investigation had gone nowhere. Every lead was fake. Every trail ended in smoke. And now some ancient, righteous group that supposedly survived from antiquity to the present day? If that was real, then what was SHIELD? A joke? A cheap imitation? Uncontrolled power, Fury said coldly, will not be allowed on Earth. He distrusted everything by instinct, especially something backed by hacking this terrifying. And worse, it felt old, ancient, too ancient. Wakanda, an organization hidden behind the world, Chala frowned. Wakanda lived behind a mask too. The world saw a poor nation. In truth, it held the strongest technology on Earth. Because of that, he could almost accept the idea. Almost. His eyes stayed cautious, unconvinced. Guard the world? Wanda Maximoff narrowed her eyes. Chaos magic flowed across her fingers as she tried to twist reality itself, to interfere with the screen hanging in the sky. Nothing happened, not even a ripple. Ow! Wanda froze, shock flickering across her face. For the first time, she couldn't affect it. Has such a force ever existed on Earth? The Ancient One's brows knitted tightly. She reached for the eye of Agamotto by instinct, ready to observe through time. But the moment she tried, terror surged through the river of time. Auras, presences, powers so vast they made even her heart tighten. Entities carrying Mephisto's stench, yet far beyond him. Some could crush him like dust. The timeline that once felt calm and readable became a deadly ocean. And in a distant era, far, far away, something moved. A dragon, a mother of dragons, drifting through the void of history. Its scales shimmered with light, as if each one carried the weight of a world. Then, as if it noticed her gaze, it slowly began to turn its head. Not good. The Ancient One's pupils shrank. She snapped the eye shut instantly. When she returned to herself, her back was soaked in cold sweat, and deep in her eyes, faint shadows of dragons still coiled and grew. A partner that protects justice? Superman blinked. For the first time in a long while, the burden on his shoulders felt lighter. Gotham City. Foundation. Bruce Wayne's gaze hardened beneath the black cowl. Distrust came naturally to him. Weakness, whether it's a hacker or a real organization. I will find every weakness they have. His jaw tightened with determination. Earth again. From the dark side of the moon, uncertain voices murmured with surprise and doubt. Something had changed. Something had moved. One stone had stirred 1,000 waves. Some people quietly prepared for war. Some were shaken by the sheer scale of the power on display. But most still laughed it off as a scam. A prank. A grand illusion crafted by a top-tier hacker. Law enforcement agencies moved quickly, trying to track the source and arrest whoever was responsible. However, as the world spiraled into chaos, the screen's movie reached its end and shifted into something new. Exposure. First containment object, SCP-500. Panacea. Oral administration. Within 2 hours, it cures any known or unknown disease. A small, ordinary plastic pill bottle appeared on screen. Inside were simple red tablets. Beside it, only a few clean lines of description. Something that looked harmless, almost boring. And yet the narration hit like thunder. Across the world, countless eyes widened, and no one could look away.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Cut, it really is another liar. I was so scared that I thought it was real. Does anyone know the name of this movie? Among other things, the special effects are so cool. Listen to me. It would be better if they took the time to pay attention to the details. Panacea or something. The name is too bad. I bet $100. This hacker is absolutely worthless. Put some small red pills in a small plastic jar. Dare to promote it as a panacea? This is too ridiculous. Even a child can't be fooled. The drug sellers on TV shopping seem to be countless times more reliable than this. A group of people scoffed, but no one believed it. If the hacking methods for hacking into technological items were not too terrifying, this kind of crap scam would not even make a splash. Foundation? Panacea? This method is too simple. It is really a deception of mortals. Loki curls his lips. Except for the God King Odin, Loki, who has been watching the Earth, is definitely the first to discover this scene in Ardgas. Loki, who is still watching curiously, immediately lost interest after hearing the description of the panacea. Too fake. Such a crude lie is a waste of such a big battle. It really is immortal. It's really boring. Loki's faint voice carried the arrogance of the Protoss. It's so clumsy. Tony had completely lost interest in watching. It doesn't matter if the screen is forced to turn on, but he can turn the seat. Turning back, he looked directly out the window, overlooking the busy traffic in the center of the empire, with sadness in his eyes. But Pepper next to Tony stared at the screen without blinking. In her almost desperate heart, some inexplicable expectations suddenly emerged. A panacea? Does such a thing really exist? The more you know, the more afraid you will be of the existence behind this exposure. Originally, she definitely wouldn't believe it. But the changes in the long river of time made Ancient One look dignified. But, fortunately, there is no need for her to continue to struggle in her heart, because the picture on the screen started to change again. The screen changed, came directly to a laboratory-like place. Researchers wearing uniforms shuttle back and forth from the laboratory, and a leader is holding the panacea in his hand. Seeing this scene, the agent's instinct made Nick Fury's eyes condense. Quick, according to the laboratory analysis on the image, find their instrument usage habits and possible locations as soon as possible. These instruments are not simple, and it is impossible for common mink and imaginers to splice them together. Seeing this scene, Nick Fury is basically sure that the Foundation definitely exists. As for whether it is as upright and powerful as they say, he is always skeptical. When he turned his head back, the picture had entered the next link. SCP-500 Contact Test. Appendix 500-1. For infection with SCP-008. Zombie virus. Tests conducted by D-Class personnel have shown that even in the advanced stages of the disease, a single dose can completely cure it. What SCP-008 is, no one knows. But they can clearly see what is on the screen. I'm scared to death. What the hell is this? Isn't this style of painting too outrageous? Isn't it a cure? What is this thing? The whole body is green. The head is extremely hideous. The zombie-like thing rushes directly to the screen, and there's a close-up with corrosive saliva flowing out of the biting mouth. This monster can hardly be called a human. However, they witnessed a miraculous scene with their own eyes. A small red pill, also known as the panacea, was forced into the mouth of the zombie. Then I discovered the healing effect visible to the naked eye on the zombie. The excitement was soothed, the blood in the eyes faded, and the ferocious canine teeth returned to normal. At last, even the miserable green on the skin disappeared, no different from the common people. No, isn't this too fake? Even a magic medicine is not so fast, right? That's right. That's right. Didn't it mean to cure the pain? How did it become the antidote to the zombie virus? What a mess. The special effects are too cool. Isn't this the source of the zombie movie? Please ask for the full name. Same request, +1. Same request, +1. When countless people saw this scene, their eyes widened. The exaggerated effect is simply staggering. But who would take this thing seriously? A lot of bullet screens asking for names are rampant on the internet. Kamartaj. It's gone. It's gone. It must be fake. The black and white apprentices immediately dispersed. It is still within the scope of understanding before curing diseases, zombies turning into people or something. That is too nonsense. This is not magic. Fake. Ancient One narrowed his eyes slightly and shook his head inexplicably. It was as if he heard the meaning behind her words. Mo-Du beside Ancient One suddenly widened his eyes. Could it be? Do you mean the Supreme Mage? Is this true? Maybe. Ancient One whispered softly, looking at the screen in the sky with a complicated expression. Unknown existence. What is your purpose? Mo-Du was left standing on the flat ground anxiously. No way. No way. Absolutely not true. Tony's resolute voice sounded, directly extinguishing the luck in Little Pepper's heart. What if? Little Pepper opened his mouth unwillingly. For Tony, who is in a desperate situation and is suffering from palladium poisoning, if the things on the screen are true, it will undoubtedly be a life-saving medicine. Save his lifeline. Even knowing the absurdity, Pepper couldn't help but believe it. Fake is fake. Tony didn't look up, and his tongue was merciless. There is no panacea in the world. There is no panacea to treat human diseases, let alone treat zombies. His video is too fake. If it weren't for the opponent's powerful hacking skills, JRVS hadn't conquered it yet, which made Tony take a high look. With his usual character, he has long been ridiculed with a vicious tongue. What a messy panacea. The name is very fake, not scientific at all. In the late stage of palladium poisoning, his weak body could no longer support his high-intensity exercise. Lying on the soft seat, his eyes narrowed slightly, revealing sadness. The first containment has been revealed. SCP-500 Panacea is coming. After the test ended, the screen returned to deep black, and a miniature map suddenly appeared. 3 dots of light mark the bright light on it. Represents the location where the contained items descend. Mutant Academy. Panacea. Charles frowned in the wheelchair. Could it be the awakening ability of a certain mutant? Although hesitant in his heart, Charles still chose to send Storm out, just in case. There are 2 batches of agents starting from SHIELD and moving towards the location marked on the map. Magneto dismissed it without even looking up and continued with his great work. Bruce wiped the bat armor on hand, but the long distance finally made him choose to give up. There can be no accidents in Gotham City. The Panacea? Will be interesting news, wouldn't it? The little Spider-Man, who shuttled around with the cobweb, rarely thought of his own job as a reporter. Finally, I no longer need to take pictures of myself as news. Stephen, who trekked on the snowy mountain, has not yet become Doctor Strange. In order to heal his hands damaged in the accident, he came to this place in Legendary, looking for mysterious help, but found nothing. Looking at the lighted positions in the sky, Stephen, who was in a hurry to seek medical treatment, was a little moved. But in the end, he chose to continue searching on the mountain. Even if it was true, this kind of notification to the world would not be something that a ruined doctor like him could get. Just when everyone was guessing how things would end. Screen displays the coordinates of one of 3 pills. Quietly turned into a Stark building, Tony was as hot as a top star, instantly detonating the audience's barrage. But the picture in the broadcast made everyone silent. The audience is silent. How is this possible? Stark building. Tony, why don't we go and look for it? Pepper pushed Tony, who was pretending to be asleep, to wake him up forcefully, encouraging him constantly. Tony opened his eyes and refused decisively. No, this is obviously a scam. A very talented scam. Maybe the hacker is looking for a job? That's right. He still firmly believes that this is a prank by a certain hacker or organization. Panacea? How could such a thing exist in the world? Tony Stark, even if he died of illness or poison and jumped off the Stark building, he would never be so stupid as to believe what was on the screen and go all over the world to find some panacea. That's too stupid. Tony curled his lips. His firm voice had just fallen. Buzz. Invisible waves spread from the void. One of Red's pills landed directly on his $1 million desk. Sigh-hum. Watching the scene happen, Little Pepper's eyes turned red with excitement, and his breathing became extremely heavy. Without even thinking about it, I grabbed it and took it in my hand. He stared at Tony eagerly. What do you want to do? Little Pepper, don't mess around. My head, which is full of knowledge, can't be poisoned by this 3-no potion. Please calm down. At least do a pharmacological analysis first. Looking at Pepper, who turned into a female Tyrannosaurus, Tony couldn't feel bad. Time is running out. Pepper turned a deaf ear and stepped closer to Tony. This so-called panacea can be said to have attracted countless eyes from all over the world. If you don't take the opportunity to swallow it, it will definitely attract countless greedy eyes. Even if Tony can hold on to this medicine, but the time wasted in the middle, I don't know how much it will cost. Politician, always the most greedy jackal. Tony, can't wait. It must be now. Little Pepper's posture was rare and tough. Tony wanted to struggle, but the palladium poisoning was deep, and he was addicted to the feasting, the playboy body being hollowed out. How could he resist the Little Pepper who turned into a female Tyrannosaurus and directly forcibly fed it? Oh shit. Easy. You lighten. Even if you want to take medicine, bring me some water. Stark's struggling snarls became smaller and smaller. Clutching her little Pepper tightly, she also had a stunned expression, and with a thumping stagger, Tony fell directly to the ground. But Tony, whose **** was in close contact with the floor, did not yell. Instead, his eyes widened, and he looked at the reflection on the floor-to-ceiling windows in disbelief. Perhaps he's going to be really fragrant. The scene that happened in the Stark building was not only a secret between Tony and Pepper, but it was broadcasted by the video and was directly broadcast by the world. No, far more than the world. It is the witness of the creatures of the entire universe. How is this possible? Oh God, could it be that I didn't wake up? This medicine is actually real? How is this possible? No, it must be that I didn't wake up. How could such a thing exist in the world? It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. The internet instantly became a mess, and all kinds of opinions were rampant. The influx of users in an instant even squeezed the network to the point of crashing, causing large numbers of users to be forced to disconnect directly. The picture on the screen is not limited to displaying icons and routes. Instead, the follow-up content is developed and presented together. They all witnessed the small red pill appearing in front of Tony, and then Pepper forcefully stuffed it into it. Damn, this luck is too perverted. A group of non-chiefs could not help but blurt out curses. However, next moment, the audience was speechless. Tony, who ate SCP-500, recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. The paleness visible to the naked eye on the face disappeared. The complexion is ruddy, and the dragon is fine, and the tiger is fierce. Tony thinks he's better than ever. At least he can go clubbing for a week without a break. Even if other people don't understand medicine. Witnessing Tony's earth-shaking changes in a short period of time, I can guess one or two of them. Not to mention, this rich guy even installed all kinds of high technology in his home. JRVS. Check me out. Tony suppressed his excitement and opened his mouth. The long-lost feeling of health in his body made him a little unable to control himself. Body scanning, sir. Scanning complete. Sir, all indicators perfect. Physical function perfect. Hidden dangers no. Palladium detected 0. Seeing the indicator he was waiting for the most appeared, Tony became excited instantly. Ha! I knew it. I knew that my brain, cursed by knowledge, would never end like this. Pepper, did you see? The palladium element disappeared. I'm fine. Tony laughed excitedly, his joy hard to hide. Oh, this elixir is simply amazing. I have never seen such a magical thing. The praise in O'Neill's mouth was as if he didn't want money. It was as if he was not the one who sneered just now and said that he would rather jump off the top floor of a building than take a panacea. Unexpectedly, it's actually true. Nick Fury's eyes are wide open. The folder in his hand is already shape-shifting. He definitely knew about Tony's palladium poisoning to the bone. Now, the toxins that have been completely emptied are undoubtedly ironclad evidence. Prove that the panacea really works, not the life-activating stimulant, the real panacea. He belongs to SHIELD. Nick Fury's pupils puckered, his one eye gleaming with determination. Notify all the agents on standby, and take back the remaining 2 elixir at all costs. On the empty top floor, echoed with the eager roar of the marinated egg. Military, this medicine really exists? If I can get him, it will definitely make the plan more perfect. General Thunderbolt, greed blazed in Ross' eyes. Dial quickly with one hand. All kinds of new fighter jets quickly took off from the base, and the propellers roared. Really? Loki, who was originally dismissive, had a stiff expression. I just said a crappy mortal scam, but it turned out to be effective. It was a slap in the face from the air. Fortunately, no one knows yet. Loki, who was secretly grateful, obviously didn't know that Odin's face in the Golden Hall changed suddenly. A medicine that cures all sickness? Does it exist? A golden light flashed in his eyes. Odin instinctively wants to go to Midgard and get SCP-500 back. The lance of eternity had already burst into glory, and it was about to turn into a meteor and fall to the ground. But it finally dimmed, just like Odin's closed eye. The Battle of Midgard. Not my business. Even if the pain on his body is healed, there is no essential improvement for him. The predicament he encountered was never a patient, but a lifespan. He going to die of old age. It is true. Very good. Modu's face was ecstatic. Because of Ancient One's strange attitude, his confidence in the panacea can be said to be the greatest. He was the first to set off and open the portal, and he was almost close to his destination. Medicine. Charles stared deeply at the screen, a huge psychokinesis, invisible spreading. After closing your eyes, is the strongest form of his power. Loki, the god of lies. Batman, the justice. Freelance journalist, Little Spider-Man. If it weren't for time and distance constraints, there would even be meteors on the back of the moon wanting to fall. After Tony personally tested the drug and proved the authenticity of SCP-500, everyone's enthusiasm was instantly detonated. The organization that was originally looking for with a tentative purpose, the superpowers, were all extremely excited. Completely insane. But the panacea that can cure all diseases. Make sure you don't get hurt. Who can guarantee that he will not get sick for a lifetime? Getting a piece of this medicine is like saving one's life, and some people even have the idea of replica research. All kinds of geeks, ghosts, and evildoers frequently appear in the American comics world. There is never a shortage of mad scientists. Somewhere, Dr. Manhattan slowly opened his eyes. Morka, a national capital in Brown Island, where military power is generally lagging behind. SHIELD, with bases all over the world, clearly has the upper hand. Countless SHIELD agents search the city with great fanfare, and obviously no one dared to stop them. Skillful movements, coupled with excellent equipment, each agent has the combat power to suppress a group of combat teams. It can't be said that it is invincible, but in this backward country, it can definitely walk sideways. This panacea must be mine. Nick Fury clenched his fists, confident. Found it. The surprised voice of SHIELD agent sounded on the broadcast screen. The small red pill appeared in front of him, lying quietly on a wooden stake. The signal flares lit up immediately, and the surrounding agents quickly assembled, and there were still a large number of combat troops and ordnance a little far away. Very good. Nice job. Nick Fury's eyes lit up, and the corners of his mouth were ecstatic. The ownership of this panacea is definitely S.H.I.E.L.D. That's right. The next step is to see how he deals with those politicians and blocks their greedy eyes. As for bringing it back from Morka, no difficulty at all. How can the indigenous countries in Africa have the right to stop them? They, SHIELD, are the barriers that protect the world. Except for the fact that the Foundation does not know the truth and is extremely mysterious, SHIELD is definitely the strongest barrier that protects the world. There is absolutely no chance of accidents. Just when Nick Fury was feeling confident. Shit. Bitchy. What the hell is that? What appeared on the video broadcast screen made him, the very deep S.H.I.E.L.D. director, couldn't help cursing. Look what he saw. Magic. What the hell is this? On the screen, a flash of fire suddenly lit up from the sky and then continued to expand. The vortex of flames swept outward until a space as tall as a person was formed. A man wearing a cloak and cape, with the temperament of an ancient nobleman, walked out of it. The panacea? It's ours. Modu raised his right hand and waved. The small red pill rushed directly into his hand, as if being pulled by invisible force. There is another organization behind him. Nick Fury's pupils were wide open, and the vigilance of the Agent King was raised to the highest level in an instant. Stop. Mutant? Or monster? Put down the panacea. We are the SHIELD who protect the world. Do you want to cut yourself off from human beings? Seeing the elixir being taken away, the SHIELD agents gritted their teeth. Guard the world. Destroy human beings? The corners of Modu's mouth were slightly curved, with a contemptuous mockery on his face. What a stupid fellow. We We are the real barrier to protect the world. Defend the world from being invaded by different dimensions. SHIELD? Never heard of it. Is it another toy of those in power? Modu curled his lips and didn't take it seriously. Following the guidance of a supreme mage, the elixir belongs to us, Kamartaj. Facing the agent's pressing attack every step of the way, Mordo didn't care. All kinds of spells poured into his hands, and he easily killed a group of Muggle agents in seconds. No matter how powerful the common people were, they couldn't be his opponents. Anyway, he is also the mage taught by the Ancient One himself. After sweeping the gathered agents, hurry up before all kinds of high-tech heavy firepower gather. Modu directly pulled the sling ring, opened the portal, and disappeared in place. Shit. Exalted mage? Kamartaj, the barrier that protects the world? Invasion from another dimension. Gathering the information mentioned in the broadcast screen, Nick Fury's mind was almost in a mess. He is not someone who has never seen the world. Kree people, Yuan-devouring beasts, he has been in contact with them all. But what the hell is mage? There's also supreme mage, something that is full of fantasy when you hear it. Shouldn't it exist in storybooks? Does it really exist in the world? Nick Fury, who has always regarded himself as a lonely hero, organized SHIELD, and shouldered the responsibility of protecting the world, never imagined that there are so many powerful organizations in the world that he does not know. The mysterious and terrifying Foundation. Fantastic Kamartaj. Who knows what else is in the dark? One by One is not against the weirdness, but against the dimension of Mephisto. In comparison, their SHIELD functions of regulating the security and conflicts of various countries are directly pulled across the floor, almost becoming floor tiles. Joker is actually me? Nick Fury raised his head with difficulty, suddenly feeling that the world has become strange. The eyes are cloudy and unpredictable. But now is obviously not the time to worry about these things. The third one, that is, the location of the last panacea appeared. And nearby. What a godsend. We must get it this time. Barton, Tanasa, you lead all the agents out. This mission cannot be missed. In an emergency situation, I allow you to use heavy firepower. Nick Fury forcibly suppressed the shock in his heart and got back to business. Tap the table. Directly dispatch Hawkeye, Black Widow, and his elite agents. The manpower is 100 times stronger than the members of Morca's subbase. It is imperative. The one-eyed stared at the place where the third pill flashed on the screen. There, definitely a battle between the dragon and the tiger. Hell's Kitchen. Rumble. Countless fighter jets soared into the sky, galloping and flying in the sky, and the searchlights strafed across. With high-lumen lights, even in the daytime, you can see clear beams of light like sharp swords sweeping across. This stinking ditch, full of crime and filth, was completely exposed to the sun. Countless gangsters trembled, facing the invasion of the army with great fanfare. No one dared to resist at all. SCP-500. Jean Bin had a gloomy face. What happened today was far beyond his expectations. He is not interested in whether the panacea is true or false. Jean is not self-aware that this kind of thing is out of his control, but the place where this pill appeared directly in his old lair is simply bad news. Let everyone move. The core industry shrinks, and everyone else spreads out. If they want to grab the panacea, let them grab it. We can control our business, and we must not let those stinky rats divide it. Jean Bing's eyes were filled with cold light. The flesh-like body bounced off the seat, not looking cumbersome at all. Trouble? Then make a fuss for me. Make a fuss. With the voice of the Underground Emperor, Hell's Kitchen was in a complete commotion, and countless mice poked their heads out of the gutter. The noisy gang members kicked off the chaos. Beachy, why is the law and order in this place so bad? What are those policemen doing? Isn't this the capital of the Empire? Storm unleashed a gust of wind with his bare hands. She swept away more than a dozen gang members who were staring at him. She was definitely not a good person who dared to attack the Statue of Liberty. The wind blades strangled in the storm, and a blood mist exploded in the blink of an eye. It was obviously not the first time that the killing was done neatly. "Calm down. We're here to find something," Cyclops said, frowning. "Only the last tablet remains." He had a hunch that this would definitely usher in the fiercest competition. Fortunately, time was limited, and many forces could not rush over. Otherwise, he even wanted to ask the professor for help. Cyclops looked at his teammates with a solemn expression. "Gene, did you find it?" They in the three-person team are definitely not as good as other organizations with a large number of people in finding new aspects. But they're mutant, definitely in a mutant way. Piano Girl Gray. Possessing superpowers, telepathy, being able to read other people's thoughts and memories, and remotely linking with other people's minds is nothing compared to Professor X's super ability. But finding things in common people is definitely not a problem. "Read it," She knew sounded with a surprised voice. "It's over there. We have to speed up. A large number of common people have gathered in the past. The order is unified. It may be the army." Chi Nu let go of the memory she had read and pointed in a direction far away, with a serious face on her face. "Army. It's just common people. Just disrupt their formation." Cyclops' expression remained the same. Apparently, he didn't take the common people seriously, the arrogance from the mutants. Whoosh. The eyes of Cyclops continuously emit laser light, which is comparable to the laser light of laser weapons. It can melt even metal instantly, and it goes without saying that it hits buildings, defenses, and human bodies. Even if he didn't intentionally kill people despite the meaning of Professor X, the destructiveness is still frightening. With Cyclops' laser opening the way, it quickly swept across a large blank space and abruptly broke into the encirclement of the army. "Ooh, get out of here. This is the treasure of the Empire. Fire. Fire all. Beat them into honeycombs for me." Roars rang out from the army. Thunderbolt General Ross's eyes widened even more, his blue veins exposed. Seeing that the item was about to be obtained, a few mutated people were suddenly killed and wanted to grab it. How could he bear it? And he waved his big hand and ordered a fire. Anyway, he would not feel guilty if he accidentally injured a few in Hell's Kitchen. Feel. Bang, bang, bang. Machinery roared, and more than a dozen machine guns were brought up. The flanks of the fighters fired directly. The ferocious firepower covered the audience, showing the fury of technology to the mutants. Storm. Storm wields a terrifying storm in his hands. The super ability was stimulated to the limit, and the veins on her forehead exploded. Snort. Not to be outdone, Cyclops fires in full force. The scarlet shockwave bloomed all around, and two laser rays swept across the Invincible, detonating countless forces. Looks like a real fight with Ross. Compare the strength of mutant and technology. However, when no one is looking, Chi Nu's eyes lit up, and a powerful psychokinesis swept out, quietly affecting the little red pill. Control the power of objects with the help of super ability and go straight to the core in the dark. By the time the others found out, the pills had already been moved by her, within easy reach. Danby ****ch. Put down my stuff. After Ross saw this scene, his entire popularity gritted. Pretty. A successful plan, Cyclops grinned across his stern face, seeing that Chi Nu is about to succeed. Whoosh! Tearing air sounds suddenly came from behind Chi Nu's ears. Instinctively, she rolled back. An especially made arrow from black grazed her body and shot it. Benedict. The black arrow was nailed to the place where Chi Nu was standing. Dee. The red light on the tail of the arrow flashed, and it exploded directly. Although the special bomb shockwave was not too big, it just happened to get stuck in the control line of Chi Nu's psychokinesis, interrupting her control of the small pill. Don't rush away. This is a big city. Barton, who was dressed in black, jumped from the tall building, pulling the bowstring backwards in his hand, and it was obviously him who shot it just now. Behind him, the Black Widow drew out his two knives, and the slender blade shone with a sense of coldness. Agents with stern faces appeared one after another. SHILD. Arrive. A****. Ross hopped his feet angrily. Who can bear this? It is obvious that he dispatched the army and found the first thing, but was cut off one after another. First those damn mutants. Then there are these bastards SHIELD again. No matter which one. Ross didn't like any of them. Dry. Angrily throwing off the brim of his hat, Ross glared and shouted, "Fire!" Mechanical roar. The firepower is soaring. All kinds of heavy firearms raise their heads, and the angry Ross went straight into madness. The sleeping beast in his body has awakened. The panacea only belongs to me. Ross pressed his highest authority button with red eyes. The most powerful weapon locked in the password box was pulled out by him with a grim expression. At all costs. He also wants to achieve the goal. As for the consequences, as long as he can get the panacea and successfully reproduce the effects of the medicine, someone will rush to protect him. As long as he succeeds, he is the hero of the Empire. Crazy. This guy is crazy. Nick Fury slapped the table angrily, with horror in his eyes. Look what this guy Ross is doing. He actually took out the strongest weapon under the nuclear bomb, the cloud bomb. The impact of a cloud bomb is enough to turn Feng Yuan 100 meters into scorched earth. The explosion instantly consumes oxygen to generate an overpressure field, which can create an oxygen-free environment for more than 4 minutes, causing suffocation. Even in house construction, explosion-proof fortifications cannot escape one catastrophe. Let alone this kind of open-air environment, is absolutely certain to die. When it explodes, a mushroom cloud is formed, which is highly similar to a nuclear strike. It is called a subnuclear bomb, the top human killer. This guy, more than 10 pieces were taken out at one time. Not the portable kind. All of them are big warheads that scare dead man. This posture, let alone a SHIELD agent, even a superhero can't stand it. Those guys from the military have their heads stuffed into their asses. How dare you allow him to behave like this? Nick Fury slapped the table angrily. His arms were a little numb, and he didn't hesitate to fight at home for a pill. Even if he guessed that they were trying to reproduce the panacea and regarded this as an opportunity for innovation in life technology, Nick Fury still didn't expect that these high-level executives were so cruel. "Oh, stop it. Hand over the panacea. Otherwise, you will perish with this piece of scorched earth." Ross's deep voice came over the radio. The cloud bomb hangs high, a posture ready to detonate at any time. As for himself, long before deciding to bomb, sitting on a fighter jet left the blast range. My F***K. Looking at the things that appeared in the sky, Barton, who had a cool face just now, was in a bad mood. Are they crazy? The Black Widow behind her also widened her eyes. Having experienced the training in the Red House, she definitely knows this kind of human weapon, although it is less famous than the nuclear bomb. But face the onslaught. For them, what is the difference between a cloud bomb and nuclear bomb? The process is a mushroom cloud explosion, and the result is all turned into coke and died. The same. What? Subnuclear bomb? Cyclops, who had a stern face just now, shrank his pupils. Brother Q's expression couldn't hold back any longer. But thinking of Professor X, and the panacea is close at hand, and he has to give up when he is almost there, the torment in Cyclops is no less than that of Ross. The situation seemed to be at an impasse. Isn't it just a panacea? This is too exaggerated. Isn't it really a movie? Help. Run. That guy is really going to explode. I didn't expect to see a mushroom cloud rise in the United States in my lifetime. This is too exciting. The barrage on the internet was rampant, and the crowded network immediately crashed. Start up. Activate the emergency escape route. Gene Bing, who was originally the old god, turned green, and other people can watch the show, but his lair is in Hell's Kitchen, which is equivalent to throwing a subnuclear bomb on his head. Who the hell can resist it? Face. Benefit. It's all bullshit in front of life. A flexible fat man quickly flashed in the direction of emergency evacuation. Our gas dominion. Nuclear bomb? Subnuclear bomb. Interesting power. Let me light a fire for you. The stalemate is the poisonous point of drama. The corners of Loki's mouth were slightly curved, and his eyes gleamed with magic. As the #1 mage in the 9 realms, no matter how pretentious the title was, his level of magic was absolutely true, especially at manipulating people's hearts and illusions. Under Loki's launch from a distance, the Cloud Bomb, which was originally only used as a threat, quietly started to activate, and the button was about to be pressed, and the mushroom cloud was about to rise. "Stop!" A stern voice sounded from every mind in Hell's Kitchen. A figure sitting in a wheelchair suddenly appeared. But not in reality. It is a projected phantom in the mind. Professor X. Charles Xavier finally couldn't sit still and made his debut. The super abilities of telepathy and mind control exploded at the same time, and the field control suppressed the collapse of the battle situation. The explosion of the cloud bomb was stopped. But at the same time, it also instantly intensified the intensity of the competition. After losing the deadly threat hanging over their heads, all the troops from all sides launched an all-out assault. Rumble! Rumble! A loud bang broke out in Hell's Kitchen. Metal scrubbing, energy explosions, and terrifying high-energy reactions are no less than a war in the Middle East. The screen in the broadcast was completely covered by smoke and dust. Only the sound of the impact of the metal torrent can be heard. Hours later, the top of S.H.I.E.L.D. Is that what you took back? Nick Fury looked at the things that Black Widow and the others brought back. His face was gloomy and ugly. Red little pills are right. But, however, the main body of the pill was smashed in the scramble. What was presented on his table was only a little powder. Uncertain. Who can tell him? Can a broken panacea be used as a panacea? Especially only less than 1/3 of the situation? Nick Fury's face was gloomy, and he felt that the possibility was very uncertain, but with the idea of fluke, he could only treat a dead horse as a living horse doctor. Take half and give it to the doctor, and let him study it as hard as possible. The rest are all sealed up and classified as 10th level secrets, and only I can retrieve them. Nick Fury rubbed between his brows, suddenly feeling extremely tired. Yes, Natasha Romanoff nodded. They were all seriously injured. It was not easy to succeed in a group of monsters and lunatics. Who knew that there would be a ruthless person in the military who dared to drop a subnuclear bomb in the urban area? F***K. It's too cruel. Lin Xiu's pupils shrank, and he almost had a diabetes collapse. He was in Hell's Kitchen. Although it's on the edge, who knows how big this thing's explosion range is? It's just passing through Death God. This ghost world is indeed a nightmare difficulty. Lin Xiu pursed his lips. His face was a little ugly. But fortunately, the most difficult early stage has passed. The series of crazy exposure values on the system panel are just a fraction. The real big head is the reward for successfully storing the contained objects. That's right. The shelter and rewards of other characters are also counted on Lin Xiu. This is the dominance of the system. All American Comics characters are just his wage earners. Ding! Containment of SCP-500 successful. Rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining SCP-500. A simple plastic bottle fell from midair, and Lin Xiu firmly caught it in his hand. It's not the defective version that Tony and the others got, which was said to be SCP-500, but in fact there was only one potion in it. What Lin Xiu got was the real SCP-500 panacea. Originally, clatter. Shaking the bottle, there was still a small pile of red pills inside. 43 pieces? After activating the system, the initially strengthened body allowed Lin Xiu to see the number of pills in the bottle at a glance. The contact test with the zombie virus used up 1, and Tony and the others shared 3. The quantity in the full bottle of 47 pieces matched the number at once. The rest of the relationship is in my hands. The corners of Lin Xiu's mouth curled up happily, and he **SD**********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************�ing! There are more than 300,000 points. Looking at the rising exposure value on the panel, Lin Xiu felt that he could exchange some things initially. A testing ground for pocket space? 100,000 points, you can come first. He's had enough of the harsh conditions in Hell's Kitchen. D-class personnel, agent, advanced combat team, all come to the last batch. Let's set up the Foundation's shells first. At least he can enrich his strength. An empty shell that can be broken at a poke can't fool anyone. Just as Lin Xiu was thinking about shopping, the system prompt sound suddenly rang in his ears. Ding! Containment of SCP-500 complete. Is it starting to draw the second contained item for exposure and coming? Weather. The same text appeared again, but Lin Xiu no longer felt anxious. Definitely press select. After the light and shadow changed, the jumping figure made him a little surprised. Oh, did you get it randomly the second time? Lin Xiu had some surprises in his eyes, and there was a bit of nostalgia on his face, as if he had met a familiar old partner. At the same moment, Lin Xiu chose. The picture relayed on the screen suddenly lit up with dazzling brilliance again. Tick, tick. The huge amounts of the dial spread out on the screen and finally gathered into an icon hanging in the corner. Only the countdown time is left. Countdown to exposure of second containment object. 23 hours and 59 minutes. Shit, is this just the beginning? Nick Fury stared with one eye, suppressing his emotions with one hand propped on the table. Although there have been some expectations. But the jumping countdown on the broadcast screen undoubtedly confirmed this guess. Nick Fury's eyes flickered. The formation of Avengers is urgent. The Earth needs its own extraordinary power. We, SHIELD, are the real protective barrier of the Earth. The next containment must be held by SHIELD. The appearance of Mutant and the mysterious mage undoubtedly had a huge impact on Nick Fury. The idea that was originally rooted in him broke through the ground in an instant and grew vigorously. I need strength to help. The deep one, I looked at a towering building. It's time to use the thing sealed in his hands, although the timing is a bit bad now. Stark building. New containment? Tony, who had recovered, looked at the countdown in the sky with thoughtful eyes. If only in the past, he would never believe such absurd things. But after experiencing the effects of the panacea for yourself, Tony's eyes lit up, emerged the inevitable glow. JRVS. Search for anomalous locations around the world and speculate where the anomaly might land. Tony whispered softly. Possessing artificial intelligence, Tony, as a technological pioneer, obviously has a leading edge in the network-covered world of the Earth. Coupled with government relations, the retrieval speed is not inferior to large forces. Besides, battle armor. Now it's Iron Man's debut. Tony, who was back to health, went straight forward and made waves again. New containment? Cyclops bared his teeth and opened his mouth. His body was covered with scars from the bloody battle. He worked so hard to get only 1/3 of the pills, and they were still in powder form. It was a loss to his grandma. Professor, are we still going? Storm frowned. With a lot of bandages wrapped around his body, the technological power of human beings is definitely not weak. Even if the cloud bomb is suppressed by Professor X, the attack of metal scrubbing can still plow the ground. If it wasn't for Professor X's secret suppression, they would probably have suffered more than just injuries. Definitely go. This is the containment. 1/3 will make the professor's leg heal, if I can get the full one. The little rascal jumped up and down, his eyes full of longing. Go, Professor X said in a low voice, but let Logan and Sheen go. Logan, Wolverine. Has it been broken? Loki hummed unhappily. The teleportation spell was broken by Professor X, and he directly blocked him from wanting to watch a good show. Also thought there was a big fireworks show. Unexpectedly, it was just some small firecrackers blown up. It's really boring. Loki curled his lips impatiently. But, new containment? It should be very interesting. And, if I can control this power. Looking at the screen across the sky, Loki's eyes were full of covetousness. His figure flashed, and he walked towards Heimdall. He controls Bifrost and can go to Midgard in an instant. As a rainbow runs through the galaxy, it spreads towards the Earth. Odin in the Golden Hall slowly opened his one eye. Hasn't started yet. Loki really can't hold back. The one-eyed eyes overflowed with golden light and shone with an inexplicable aura, looking at the countdown numbers on the sky. Odin's original plan to throw Thor to Midgard for training suddenly stalled. Etc. Hold on. In such a complicated situation, the old father was really uneasy. Especially, Ancient One's attitude is very strange. The Ancient One, who has always resisted all kinds of different dimensional forces entering Midgard, did not make a move this time. What did she see? Just when all parties gathered and there was endless turmoil behind the scenes. The picture on the screen finally started to rotate. The light curtain suddenly lit up. F***K. What the hell is this? F***K. Scary with his top-notch picture quality. This hacker is also a talent. When is it the upstairs thought it was a hacker invasion? The military is about to use nuclear bombs. Damn, no matter if he is real or not. Anyway, I was scared to pee. So what the hell is this? Things like puppet dolls suddenly rush to the screen with their faces close to each other. But it's just this detail, it's too scary. Exaggerated eyes, weird body, messy color scheme, plus a large smear of ketchup suddenly rushing to the front of the screen. It is even more horror movie than horror movie. The horrifying picture scared more than half of the world's people to death. B****ch. Tony, who was flying the armor in the sky, tightened his bladder. The picture that suddenly appeared on the screen made him almost lose control, and an air crash occurred in midair. Falling from a height of thousands of meters is definitely the kind of death. Hell, this is too scary. This Foundation will definitely sell a thriller. Holding his heart that was about to jump out of his body, Tony cursed. Shield. Nick Fury wasn't intimidated. As the king of agents, his mental quality is definitely the top of the top. Sculpture. Another thing that doesn't exist on Earth. Reality is blank on the computer. In the information network inside SHIELD, no relevant traces can be found, as if it has never appeared in the world. This is an information network within SHIELD that exchanges information from countries around the world. It can be said that it includes all information storage on the Earth. After the low-pitched narration, the light and shadow switched several times. The terrifying puppet sculpture also retreated to the corner of the house, motionless, as if still. Second Containment SCP-173 Sculpture. Original work. Sculpture. The original work? Nick Fury, who had been staring at the screen for analysis, had a bright light in his one eye. Nice one. Definitely something good. Panacea has such a simple name, but its effect is so heaven-defying. This sculpture can be called an original work, and the word original alone is definitely not simple. It must be a treasure countless times better than the Panacea. What happened to the long thriller? Even if it's scary, it doesn't affect that it's a baby. Don't Panaceas look like little 20-cent pills? You can't judge good or bad by appearance. Nick Fury just wanted to open his mouth to express his point of view. Next moment, Brazdan's expression froze in place, and he was in a bad mood. Exposure. Statue of SCP-173. The original work. Hazard class. Euclid. Have life and are aggressive and will break their necks when people are not prepared. Only when the eyes are fixed on it. It will maintain a static state and remain motionless. Don't blink when you stare at me. You must never look away, otherwise I'll break your head. Etc. Who can tell him? What does this no blink mean? Could it be? What he said is taking advantage of people's unpreparedness. Is it the time gap in the blink of an eye? Thinking of this kind of horrifying puppet statue rushing towards him to lock his throat and bend his neck, Nick Fury couldn't help shivering. Not just dangerous, but this horrifying picture originally is a kind of visual damage. Look at the scary dolls on the screen and compare them with the Panacea that previously cured the disease. Nick Fury's expression stiffened even more. Why is this treasure still killing people and die in the blink of an eye? This treatment is too bad, right? Nick Fury, who originally equated the contained objects with special treasures, felt that his worldview had collapsed. Having lost the panacea, he was still trying his best to win it back. Mirror space. Can't look away. If you move it, you will be killed. Motu frowned. Although he successfully obtained a panacea, he still instinctively didn't believe it when he saw this description. It was obviously just a statue of Common, which was scary at best. It's not magic. Motu shook his head, but out of prudence, he decided to only squat in the mirror space. No matter how weird, it's also impossible to cross into the mirror and attack him, right? Isn't the description of this thing too outrageous? Isn't this too metaphysical? Keep your eyes still when you look at it. Tony shook his head. Science told him that metaphysics was not credible. However, the body recovered after taking the panacea, and the health data can't fool anyone. So Tony can only be skeptical. But to say how much he was terrified of the statue would be bullshit. Anyway, it's just a concrete statue, and Tony, the scientific researcher, can see through the construction material at a glance. The appearance is quite scary, but concrete defines its essence. No matter how weird it is, a cannonball doesn't have to be too strong. The palm cannon mounted on his battle armor can easily bomb the concrete into pieces, and the sculptures are blown to pieces. What's the use of twisting his neck so weirdly? Caliber is justice. Cannon is truth. Tony, who is in the late stage of fire phobia, is a loyal believer of the turret religion. It's a bit too contemptuous of science to use this sculpture to scare people. Tony shook his head helplessly. The panacea saved his life. For the Foundation, no matter what he said, Tony was absolutely grateful in his heart. In spite of what was exposed this time seems a bit too common. It really doesn't match the Foundation's overbearing declaration, or, to say, out of character. Just when Tony shook his head secretly, the picture displayed on the screen changed again, and Tony's eyes widened by rebroadcasting the content. ****. You dare! Tony roared angrily, clenched his fists tightly, and the veins in his arms exploded. The puppet that was alone in the corner of the room suddenly disappeared. The screen changed, came directly to a crowded street. No, it should be said that the streets were once densely populated. The road that should have been full of traffic was filled with flowing blood everywhere, clearing out a vacuum. On the ground, there lay a large body with broken spines. At a cursory glance, I can't even estimate the number clearly, and it's because of the time problem. It's a time when there are few people. In the corner of the street, a puppet with a strange shape stared straight at the screen. SCP-173. Original work. Tick, tick. The scarlet blood dripped from its hands and gathered on the ground to form a pool of blood. There was a figure lying down next to it. There was no sign of struggle on the surface of the corpse, only the horror on the face. Eccentric, weird, thriller. But in Tony's eyes, there is only anger. I will get rid of you in the name of Tony Stark. Endless anger made him rage. JRVS. Turn on the search system. I want to lock his location as soon as possible. Seeing the tragic death of innocent civilians, Tony seemed to have something awakening in his heart. Is that the Empire? General Ross's pupils shrunk, and he recognized the Empire's style from the scattered signs on the street. But, trapped in prison, he obviously has no chance to get out. That's right. He was accused of a military crime because he tried to use a subnuclear bomb in a downtown area, and he was almost brought to a military court. It's a pity that it's only 1/3. Ross gritted his teeth bitterly. 1/3 is still a panacea in the form of powder. It is not difficult for the military to keep him safe, but want to get out without damage? And it is not so easy. Blame those damn mutants. Ross slapped the wall angrily. Logan. Chi-Nu looked at the tragedy in the picture. Her eyes felt a little unbearable. Rest assured, we're almost there. Wolverine's deep voice soothed her heart. The rebroadcasting of the images on the screen caused countless people and forces to be moved by the wind. The bloody killing made countless people frown. The horror of the original. Tell everyone with bloody facts. The containment is definitely not a joke. Brooklyn, outside the downtown area, in a remote alley. Creak. After an extremely fast break and cornering. After opening the car door, A man wearing a three-color star-striped tights stepped out. His exaggerated chest muscles and buttocks were very eye-catching. The shield in his hand was his personal logo. Yeah, looks like a great guy. In the shadows in the alleyway, there was a light whistle, and Loki with a crown of horns walked out slowly. Who are you? Steve looked wary. He is now here to solve the disaster. And Loki suddenly appeared in the dark, which instantly aroused Steve's vigilance. Human, Loki had a wicked smile on his lips. You should ask me what kind of god I am. God, Steve frowned, not waiting for him to speak. Crunch. Another group of screeching brakes sounded. Captain, you don't need to talk so much nonsense with him. As long as anyone who stops us is an enemy. Black Widow's face was cold. There were never many evil villains in this city. There is nothing scarier than a horror puppet than a human heart. Unevenness means that some people want to expand the situation and plunge the belly of the Federation into chaos. Ho ho, looks like I came just in time. The air roared, and Tony, who was driving the armor, fell from the sky. In the seemingly frivolous voice, there was endless anger hidden. His eyes seemed to breathe fire, and he desperately wanted to find that weird puppet and kill it, smashing it into particles. Damn it, there are so many people found. Nick Fury, who secretly remotely controlled the SHIELD operation, looked a bit ugly. He thought he was making a fortune by muffled voice, but in the end, so many people discovered the location. The scene surrounded by wolves made him look gloomy. He has not forgotten the mage who can cast teleportation magic. In all likelihood, they are spying in the dark. Staring at the front, it is both danger and opportunity. If it can be suppressed and something useful can be analyzed, it can also turn waste into treasure. Nick Fury, who has calmed down, has returned to the state of the king of agents. Thriller? Cruel? Fear? Could it be more powerful than a nuclear bomb? As long as there are weapons that can be used, even nuclear bombs are being manufactured continuously. This disadvantage, and so on, can be completely ignored in the face of weird characteristics. Be sure to get him. Nick Fury's pupils shrank, and a brilliance flashed across his face. In the previous panacea, they had already lost their initiative, and this time they must not fall behind again. No, you have to make the first move. The sight of a pack of wolves waiting around and staring at tigers made Nick Fury a little uneasy. The panacea is shattering in the middle of a dispute. The medicine powder can at least have some medicinal effect, but if the puppet is broken into residue, who knows if it will still be effective. Hold it in your hand before everyone discovers it, so as to prevent it from being destroyed in a chaotic battle. Nick Fury decisively pressed SHIELD's internal communication and directly contacted Natasha Romanoff. Before everyone else, bring back the doll. The first containment is damaged, and the second must not repeat the same mistakes. Braised eggs directly placed the highest order. This is a race against the clock. With the agent's sense of smell, the stewed egg was discovered very early. However, someone is faster than him. A black shadow rushed out from the alleyway, and the others realized that there was someone else on stage. Wolverine, Logan, Phil Coulson, next to SHIELD's car, frowned and spoke. As expected of a famous good old man, he will help you answer your doubts in minutes. Logan sprinted into the membrane at full speed, extremely fast. The 100-meter flying man bolt was directly reduced to scum at the speed of Wolverine. The people on the field have not yet reacted. Wolverine, who was running extremely fast, had already broken through the blockade of these people and was only a short distance away from the alleyway, where SCP-173 was located. Damn it, stop him. The horror figures must be contained by us. You can't break out a big battle inside. You must block it and keep it outside. It's the damned mutant again. Outside the alleyway, harsh noises erupted. In order to avoid the tragedy of smashing the third panacea from happening again, all the people present chose to break out the battle outside and fight directly. It was clearly the scene where the contained objects descended, but they intensified it into an internal battle. ****. Tony is completely desperate for these politicians. Civilians are at stake, and these people are still fighting for their interests. It's ridiculous. An angry Tony tried to break through the blockade, but he, who made a high-profile announcement of his Iron Man identity, was obviously taken as a target on the court, and his every move received great attention. SHILD might have been better, but the piano girl, huffing girl, and the weird guy who called himself God were all watching his actions, and Tony was stumped. Lin Xiu, who was also paying attention to the live broadcast, had a somewhat helpless expression. Containment is exposed. These guys are not working together, fighting the threat, trying to suppress the containment. On the contrary, what the hell is it to fight directly? This is not the birth of the ruins, and various forces are vying for prehistoric treasures. Please, this is a script for anomalous invasion, etc. Could it be that they misunderstood something? As if thinking of something, the expression on Lin Xiu's face became even weirder. Don't they think that SCP-173 is weak, something that can be dealt with casually? Be cool. This year's class of migrant workers doesn't feel good. Lin Xiu's eyelids twitched. If this group of guys keep messing around, there might be trouble. SCP-173. Another name is Little Peanut. It can be said to be the mascot of the Foundation. But don't look at this thing even has a nickname, but it's definitely not a good person. Hazard level. Euclid is quite dangerous. Second only to Keter. It is extremely dangerous, also known as the world-destroying level. Under normal circumstances, the EU level is already the one with the highest risk factor, and Peanut can't help but be afraid of Keter-level abnormalities like the indestructible lizard. He is definitely the top of the top. When he didn't find his weakness and thought of a way to target it, he regarded it as a trophy and wanted to keep it in his pocket. Lin Xiu could only say that he admired their bravery, and then sent an extra bouquet of chrysanthemums on Qingming Festival. Go away! Wolverine Logan roared, and the adamantium popped out of his hand, turning into indestructible claws. Relying on the ability of super speed regeneration, he rushed forward, directly bearing the damage. Taking a step forward, passing the corner of the alleyway, I finally saw SCP-173 standing in the middle of the bloody mess. Go to hell. Wolverine waved his claws angrily. He had already reached the limit of his patience with this bloodthirsty monster. Then play GG. Click. There was a snapping sound from the neck. Neck twist. At a speed undetectable to the naked eye, the black shadow flew past and directly broke his neck. Wolverine, who broke in first, was also the first to fall down. It's just like rush to death. Click, click, click. The sound of bones recovering sounded, and Wolverine, who stood up from the dead body, used her strength to back off. On the stern face, fearful eyes appeared. That thing is weird. Wolverine's face was gloomy. The sharp claws in his hand were made of Edelman metal, and there was no scar on the opponent's body. Its material is by no means as simple as concrete. Qin. Wolverine instinctively protected Qin Nu. However, this is obviously just the beginning. Just because he can resist the neck-breaking of the horror puppet, it doesn't mean that others have this strength. Brush, brush, brush. At a speed that cannot be detected by the naked eye, only black shadows can be seen darting. Kaba, kaba. The same sound kept ringing out. It sounded like just joint cracking, but a fallen figure was proving with his life that these were bloody deaths time and time again. The creepy sound made everyone feel chills. Fire, fire, full fire. The SHILD agent is firing guns and guns. Although it is not as good as the military, it can pull out all kinds of heavy weapons, but as a violent organization that protects the Earth, it definitely has a lot of guns. Several light and heavy machine guns were set up from the car, and the muzzles of the guns continued to emit blue fire. Pity, nothing. What spooky figures were, and are still, after the metal torrent swept away. Not to mention the hollow bullet holes, not even the traces of bumps. If it wasn't for the wall behind it being destroyed by the impact of bullets, the agents would even wonder if they were dreaming. Kaba, kaba. Even if the machine gun bullets poured out, Gatling burst into blue flames, and it didn't affect the speed at which it twisted its neck to kill. One figure after another fell in a pool of blood. The body can't see the slightest struggling movement, and the face is full of endless horror. My F asterisk asterisk K. What's the situation? Even Nick Fury, who is very deep in the city, is starting to lose his temper. Compared with the last panacea, this ghost sculpture is too scary, right? Not only killing people, but killing them so viciously. Even with full light firepower, he couldn't suppress his actions, and he killed people under the hail of bullets. In less than a moment, more than a dozen agents died, and they were all the elite of S.H.I.E.L.D. It took countless time and money to cultivate each one successfully. The loss in the blink of an eye made Marinate's heart bleed. If he doesn't control that guy again, Lin feels that all the wealth he has accumulated with great difficulty will be thrown into it. Sight. Keep your eyes on her. As long as she is seen by the line of sight, she will not move, and she must not blink. Nick Fury yells through the pager. Regardless of whether it is useful or not, this is the only way they can do it. Now, Poor can only pray that the exposed content is useful, not just a random hoax. Still, obviously, none of the elites present are idiots. Someone soon thought of the content of the exposure and started to try. Stare. He stared blankly at the horror doll, not even daring to blink. Finally, efficient. Phil Coulson had surprise on his face. Hawkeye finally breathed a sigh of relief from his fearful mood. Under the scorching eyes, the horror puppet that was watched by everyone finally stopped from the shadow of the high-speed movement and changed into the original horror and frightening appearance. Looking at this kind of thing makes people feel chills in the bottom of their hearts. It looks like a dead thing, but it makes people feel terrified. Don't be too happy. That rascal. It hasn't been resolved yet. Tony's cold voice sounded. Wearing a battle suit, he was undoubtedly the most embarrassing one on the field. Who knows if the sight through Iron Man's armor is of any use to this guy? A solution must be found as soon as possible. Although he temporarily controlled the other party, it was obviously meaningless. It is impossible for the situation to remain deadlocked like this. And it is impossible for people not to blink. Once he couldn't help but blink before this guy was dealt with, the matter would be really serious. The evil beast would come out of the cage, and with its terrifying speed, it could simply slaughter a city. Tick, tick, cold sweat rolled down his forehead. It hit the ground and turned into a drop of water. Time passed quietly, and the eyes of everyone who forcibly opened their eyes were bloodshot. Damn it, how could it be like this? There really are monsters that kill people in the blink of an eye. Isn't this really a movie? It's too outrageous. Movie? How many people died on that street? What kind of movie dares to use this to set up a real scene? Just kidding. So what? Is there no one who can deal with it? I live in Brooklyn. Iron Man has shot. JRVS. Lock its limbs for me. Tony kept going in the dark, and if this dragged on, sooner or later someone would be unable to hold on. It's better to try it while the other person is still. Shells. Use the strongest shells. The characteristics are neck-bending and super high speed. Tony intends to smash the opponent's two methods first, blowing off its limbs first, and then all the fear stems from the lack of firepower. Fire. Flames gushed out from the armor, and Tony directly took out most of the energy to launch the strongest attack of the armor. Rumble. Deafening bangs erupted on the field, and dust and smoke surged. Did it work? Nick Fury frowned tightly. As expected of the strongest arms dealer, Tony's few attacks just now were all at the top level of individual soldiers. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. has no funds and no technical equipment. Big Dog Plus scientist, the compound reaction is to hang. Success. It's not that simple. Wolverine frowned. Adamantium couldn't break through the defenses. He didn't quite believe that such a weird thing could be terminated so easily. The dust and smoke dissipated. Among the wreckage of the gunpowder, you can see that the horror doll has been blown into several pieces. However, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, what they saw in front of them shocked everyone. It was true that the spooky puppet had been blown off, but it didn't calm down like Tony thought it would. Instead become even more terrifying. Hand, foot, the torso, all turned into neck-bending weapons. Turning into a black shadow, with an incomparably distorted posture, he suddenly attacked everyone on the field, directly increasing the killing efficiency several times. Even Wolverine, who relied on her resilience to pervertedly resisted, was a little bit unable to hold on. Attack frequency. It is too high. Moreover, it is extremely difficult to stare at so many remnants at the same time. It is simply hell. Damn it. The game is broken. Tony's nails were clenched into his fists as he rode the Iron Man armor. Is this the level of danger at the Euclid level? Odin on the throne frowned. If it is relatively easy to deal with at the beginning, the common people can temporarily save their lives by realizing eye contact. After being shattered, the strength of the horror doll has undoubtedly risen several steps. And it is foreseeable that head-to-head confrontation will only turn the opponent into more fragments, and thus become stronger in killing. It's a bit troublesome. Odin pursed his lips. Even he, the God King, would find it difficult. But what to do with him? He's just an old man about to go to his grave. Ancient One, what are you going to do? The faint voice echoed in the Golden Hall and gradually disappeared. What's the situation? Mo-Du, who was hiding in the mirror space, shrank his pupils, his eyes filled with fear, staring closely at the dust and smoke. A black shadow continued to enlarge, as if galloping towards him. But I'm obviously in the mirror space. With the presence of the old god, Mo-Du panicked instantly. This feeling was no less than sitting on the sofa watching a horror movie, only to turn around and Sadako crawled out of the TV to die. Who can stand this? What the hell? Get out of here! Mordo looked terrified. Pulling out the electric spark in his hand, the magic turns into a weapon and prepares to meet the enemy. Result: click it. The crooked voice is unpretentious. Mo-Du's corpse fell out of the mirror space and landed on the scarlet blood on the ground. There were piles of corpses piled up beside it. There were fewer and fewer people standing on the battlefield, and it was about to be completely wiped out. Stop! Enough! A majestic voice sounded. The flame vortex expanded on the ground and turned into a portal as tall as a person. The extraordinary figure in the yellow Taoist uniform walked out slowly. His calm eyes seemed to see through everything. Supreme Mage. Ancient One. What a strong evil. Ancient One frowned. She survived by absorbing the power of the dark dimension, and she was able to perceive an SCP-173, which seemed to seal an unimaginable horror and a horrifying appearance. It is not so much a scaring method as some kind of powerful seal. It was this terrifying power that alarmed her, who was carefully observing the timeline. Fall back. The extraordinary figure of Ancient One appeared, and he made a big move as soon as he appeared on the stage. He urged the eye of Agamotto in front of him with all his strength. Amidst the green light, the metal that encloses the jewel begins to unfurl. Boom! The mighty power of time spreads, and the destroyed buildings around are visible to the naked eye. Click it. Mo-Du, who was killed by the broken neck, was pulled back abruptly by Ancient One under the reverse flow of time and space. Exalted Mage. Mo-Du's odd voice sounded from behind, but Ancient One obviously didn't want to pay attention to him. After restoring the broken little peanut to its complete form, she still wanted to continue to move forward in time. However, didn't wait for Ancient One to start operating. Boom! An indescribable horror suddenly rose from my heart, and I couldn't stop my heart palpitations. Give people a hand. Clatter. The power of time gem stagnates, and the countercurrent time instantly returns to normal. Restoring the horror puppet to its original state was already the limit of what she could do. If she stepped back further, it seemed that there was some indescribable horror that was about to come out of the seal. Ancient One even saw ripples on the long river of time, and the horrors that resided upstream and downstream looked over. Zila, Eye of Agamotto paused momentarily. At least it's not useless. Putting away the eye of Agamotto, Ancient One's back was dripping with cold sweat. Seeing the rescued Mo-Du and the restored horror doll, he reluctantly nodded. Exalted Mage. After seeing Ancient One appearing on the stage, Loki jumped out instantly. When the horror dolls were on a killing spree just now, he relied on illusions to send people's heads for death, so he managed to escape in embarrassment. With the appearance of Ancient One, I can finally relax. This is a terrifying boss, as powerful as his father Odin, in charge of Time Gem, and even the dimensional demon Shindu is not afraid. The Protoss of Asgard, the sons of the God King Odin. For local powerhouses, Ancient One is definitely very familiar. With Time Gem, looking at the combat power of Level Godfather, she is considered a top group, and she doesn't love anyone at all. Exalted Mage, Asgard Protoss, son of Odin. Were these things? Nick Fury scowled. Unknown existences appear one after another, making him, the S.H.I.E.L.D. director who feels himself in control of the Earth, feel very unhappy, even a little depressed. Isn't the world guarded by their S.H.I.E.L.D.? Are these messy organizations actually real? Is he really a god? The look on Nick Fury's face was indescribable. If someone came to tell him that there are gods in the world with his personality, he would definitely be thrown to the agency bureau, and after interrogation, he would be thrown to a mental hospital for recuperation. But now, the one who said this was a mage, a supreme mage who can control and manipulate time. Time, countercurrent. Nick Fury couldn't stop showing fear in his eyes. Although he has seen Yuan Devourer and knows the Kree people, he still holds a communication to summon Captain Marvel in his hand. But it's too outrageous to go back in time, or something. World, it's completely different from what he knows. This, Supreme Mage? That's so cool. The magic is so cool. Coach, I want to learn this. You said, with the help of Supreme Mage, can everything be solved? Nonsense. Isn't that for sure? This is the power to manipulate time. It's just a scary sculpture. Turn back time as the Ancient One makes its strong debut. The panicked remarks on the internet finally calmed down. The power of time obviously gave them huge amounts of confidence. Countless people were elated, thinking that the crisis was just like this, and passed away slowly amidst teasing and teasing. However, the Ancient One on the screen frowned. Not that simple. There is a bit of fear on the unpredictable face. Under the seemingly concrete exterior, Ancient One could sense some kind of terrifying power in the opponent's body, and her high control over Time Gem made her feel the warning from the long river of time. Pure killing and destruction is absolutely not acceptable. It will only release more terrifying monsters. So, Seal. All kinds of magic formed a torrent and fell on the horror doll, and the intertwined magic brilliance covered its body. However, when the gaze is not realized, click it. The crunching sound resounded again. Ancient One reversed the time expressionlessly, pulling back to before the seal. Click it. Puppet broken neck kill. Ancient One manipulates time reversal. I don't know how many times I have tried similar plots. White magic seal, magic item seal, mirror space seal, otherworld magic exile, dimensional force suppression. All kinds of control methods. Ancient One borrowed the power of Time Gem, almost used them all over. Result? Nothing. The puppet with a horrifying expression stood in the corner of the wall, with dirty blood flowing at its feet, as if mocking Ancient One's meaningless actions. 2. Supreme Mage. Loki's expression was rare and a bit stiff. A powerhouse comparable to his father's. Would he have nothing to do with this horror doll? Ancient One shook his head, but did not reply. Looking solemnly in front of her, it looks like a messed-up paint dish, mixed with a large amount of tomato sauce and smeared. The appearance looks extremely scary. The evil goo who is used to seeing is definitely not afraid. What she cares about is the strange power of the other party. Don't blink when you stare at me. You must never look away, otherwise I'll break your head. Sure enough, you can only watch it with your eyes to stop it from moving. The expression on Ancient One's face was a bit serious. The experiments of reverse time and space just now seem to confirm this point. If you want to seal this guy with magic, supernatural powers, or other means, it is completely impossible. Temporary control. You can use your sight to make the opponent stand still. But how to ensure normality? There will always be someone who can't help but blink, and once there's a mistake, it will be a killing feast. And the opponent is very strange, suspected to be some kind of high-dimensional power projection. Even Ancient One is unwilling to take this kind of time bomb back to Kamartaj for suppression. They're already strong enough to face the pressure of the different dimension Mephisto. Just when Ancient One had a solemn expression, the people who were watching the broadcast on the screen immediately turned against Ingtian. It's over. It's over. Even the Supreme Mage who manipulates time can't suppress it. We are hopeless. How is it possible? Just a statue. How can it be so strong? Humans, it is impossible to deal with this kind of power. The atmosphere on the internet is changing day by day, and he is completely in despair. Shit, what the hell is that? Is it the only way to let it go like this? Nick Fury couldn't help but swear. If it can't be permanently sealed, this thing is simply a time bomb. It sounds like you can keep still as long as you look at it, but people are not machines. No matter how many people there will be mistakes. Once they break through the blockade, they will face a bloody massacre. The seemingly innocuous sculpture, but the actual harm is frightening. Let me describe it as a nuclear bomb that will be detonated at any time, and it will explode countless times. Boom! Nick Fury smashed the table angrily. Staring at the screen, his expression was extremely gloomy, just when he was a little desperate. The live broadcast on the screen made his eyes freeze. What is that? A new force has appeared. Buzz, buzz. The roar of the helicopter sounded in the sky. The ear-shattering sound waves can be heard several streets away, and an organized helicopter appears from among the clouds. Military? What's the use of military people coming out now? Are they sure about each other? Are you kidding? The Supreme Mage who manipulates time can't do anything about it. What's the use of those big soldiers? Keep your eyes open, you blind men. Foundation. That's the Foundation. A stone stirs up 1,000 waves. In a network full of bad-mouthing, a bold and red barrage suddenly burst out. On the broadcast screen, there is a mark imprinted on the helicopter, a double circle with 3 arrows pointing at each other, exactly the same as the Foundation mark that appeared in the exposure screen. Without waiting for the others to react, 2 teams of people walked out of the helicopter that landed on the ground in a uniform order. Tread! Tread! The footsteps sounded at the same time, and the actions were completely consistent, more exaggerated than guards of honor, almost like a person. No, they are one person. There was a bit of horror in Tony's eyes. The dozens of people who appeared all had the same appearance, and it was impossible for multiple births to have such a number. So, clone. Does this level of cloning technology exist on Earth? Tony's eyes are a little horrified. This is completely different from the scientific world he knows. Neat and neat. The regulations are complete. Nick Fury looked gloomy. He had doubts about the authenticity of the Foundation before, but now he is almost sure. From the clothes worn by these personnel, to their uniform actions, and the display of various details, it undoubtedly shows that behind the other party is definitely a highly unified organization. The grass team is not so perfect. Absolutely not the super ability of some mutants. Orderly system inheritance. It can be seen that the other side has been rooted in the world for a long time. When Nick Fury came back to his senses, the first thing he did was to smash the computer of the Ministry of Information, and he turned into a devil and roared. Is your head stuffed in your A****? Such a huge organization, but you can't find any information? Fire me all. On the screen, SCP-173 Containment Plan. Hey, brother. Tony in the battle suit opened his mouth before he could open his mouth. The expressionless Foundation member had already walked over, with no emotion on his cold face. Stares straight at SCP-173 as if it is the only one in sight. In the process of approaching, as if it has been practiced countless times, the movements are very skillful. The 2 teams gathered together and kept at least 2 people's eyes on SCP-173. Only after communicating through the headset would someone blink. Highly repetitive actions, like a robot bionic. Contain. Members wearing Foundation work uniforms. Advance in an orderly manner, and soon arrived in front of the horror doll. There was no fear at all of its horrifying appearance, and there was no mood swings on its cold expression. Then, Chi reached out, lift the scary sculpture up, and move it in the direction of the helicopter. The puppet, which was originally a killer, unexpectedly remained motionless in this situation, as calm as a wooden sculpture. I'll go. Is this the suppression? The Foundation is too overwhelmed. So many superheroes can't handle it. They can solve it so easily. Oh my God. Are you sure this isn't an ad for a moving company? This efficiency is amazing. Is this an organization that protects human beings? I love it. I love it. Walk in the dark, work in the light. It's so cool. The appearance of the Foundation made everyone stare nervously at the screen, expecting how this terrifying doll would be resolved. But the scene before them made countless people stare wide-eyed. Thriller dolls. SCP-173. Even Supreme Mage, who manipulates time, can't do anything with it, but the Foundation's attack is so swift and resolute. It's as simple as a moving company. In front of these people, the horrifying puppet that was dismissed fiercely just now is as well-behaved as Little Peanut. It's outrageous. Foundation. Professor X, who has been watching and occupying, whispers softly, with a somewhat unpredictable expression on his face. The terrifying strength, even if it is only showing the tip of the iceberg against the background of those terrifying contained objects, it is like an unimaginable colossus. In this situation, what should Mutant do? What a strange breath of life. Odin frowned, with a serious expression on his face. The life fields of those D-level personnel that appeared on the field were very strange. Rather than saying they were clones, it was more like 1,000 people sharing one soul, with some exceptions for higher-level Secret Service personnel. But no matter what, it's a pretty weird life. He, on these people, did not feel the passage of time. Could it be? This Foundation also has containment that controls time and even life. Odin's expression tightened, and there was anticipation in his eyes. As an outsider, he didn't care about Midgard's mutation. After watching it as a TV series, he finally became serious. Damn it, A****. What are the precautions and early warnings for? There was anger from the top military officials, and there was a bit of panic in their voices. The Foundation's fighter jets actually broke through layers of blockades and vigilance and appeared directly over Brooklyn. This scene scared many politicians and high-level officials. People from the Foundation are leaving soon. Do we need to dispatch troops to intercept them? The colonel pointed to the screen and opened his mouth tentatively, despite the scolding. The field was dumb. All the people around looked at him with idiot expressions on their faces. Intercept? Joke. Not to mention whether it can be stopped. Even if it is stopped, what about the horror doll? Let's stay on the block. This is simply a nuclear bomb that detonates from time to time. If you don't see Supreme Mage, you don't want to worry about it. The high-level wish that they would go faster and faster and never come back. Intercept? Courting death. Rumble. A mechanical roar sounded. The landing helicopter started again, and the orderly D-class personnel had completed the containment task, going back to the fighter plane and turning back. Wolverine double eating. Just when she was about to snatch it, the projection of Professor X suddenly appeared in her mind, and she paused, allowing the D-class personnel to pass smoothly. Interesting organization. Loki pretended to be indifferent, but the fear in his eyes betrayed his thoughts. Rubbing his fingertips, he just wanted to test it out with illusion. The voice of Ancient One Extraordinary sounded at just the right time. This is not a place for pranks. The deep eyes are not only looking at Loki, but directly looking around the audience. If it's just a horror doll originally, with the character of Ancient One, it will definitely not do unnecessary things. But she has already clearly felt that there is a terrifying existence faintly sealed inside the doll, which may cause the horror of the end of the world. Ancient One definitely will not let this kind of thing leak out. In her eyes, the Foundation can take the initiative to contain it, which is the best result. She herself has been entangled in various dimensions, and she is a little physically and mentally exhausted. She is eager to find an heir to take over the bag. Definitely will not add another burden to Kamartaj and put an indeterminate nuclear bomb on her. Or, after trying countless methods and finding that it could not be completely suppressed, Ancient One gave up on this contained object. It is the best result for the Foundation to leave with it. That's all. Under Ancient One's shot control, the departure of the D-Class personnel was unexpectedly smooth, and they easily boarded the fighter jet and disappeared into the night sky. Exalted Mage, are we just going to let that Foundation act like this? The revived Modu looked at Ancient One with a puzzled expression. In his heart, Ancient One was omnipotent. Ancient One shook his head and said nothing. He just raised his hand to open the portal and walked in with Modu. What she didn't tell Mordo was that when those Foundation members left, she had already quietly used Eye of Agamotto, trying to glimpse the future in them. Just a glance from the corner of the eye made Ancient One's back soaked in cold sweat. Mechanical, indescribable machinery, covering the sky, as if covering the universe. Even scarier than the supreme being she had ever seen. Ancient One actually helped me? Lin Xiu raised his head unexpectedly. He originally planned that if someone organizes it, he will directly sell his points and exchange them for a wave of powerful attacks. With strong means, it crushed the enemies from all sides and played up the aura of the Foundation in one fell swoop. He pulled out the exchange list. Unexpectedly, Ancient One would stand up and help him suppress the situation. Did she see something? Lin Xiu frowned. He wouldn't be too big to think that the Ancient One, whom he had never met before, had a crush on him and was a die-hard fan of the Foundation. And 9 times out of 10, it was the Ancient One who controlled the time gem and saw some kind of terrifying future. He hopes she doesn't overturn. The corners of Lin Xiu's mouth were slightly raised, revealing a smile. In the Foundation's containment, some terrifying existences were even more terrifying than the conceptual God Kings and Creator Gods. If Ancient One hits their hands, things will be a big deal. The Foundation is not without an almighty being beyond the concept. It can be called the unimaginable Xeon. We still have to return to reality. Lin Xiu shook his head. These are not things he can covet at this stage. Compared with these unattainable existences, the containment reward this time is the key point. Ding! SCP-173 contained successfully. Rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a controllable version of SCP-173. Controllable? Lin Xiu blinked. Almost at the moment when the D-Class personnel arrived, a prompt sounded in the ear. A fluctuating wave that seems to be absent spreads. There was a ray of brilliance rippling on the scary and hideous sculpture. If you really want to talk about changes, Little Peanut hasn't changed much, but the feeling of horror has disappeared a lot in Lin Xiu's eyes. Even Lin Xiu felt that he could easily control Peanut and let it change at will, including aggressive and neck-bending targets. Become a true Foundation mascot. SCP-173 Sculpture, original work. Must keep watching consistently. When the realization leaves, bend the neck of the super high-speed movement. The holder Lin Xiu can control it in its normal state, and open the seal to make the high-dimensional projection descend. Note, after the high-dimensional projection comes, SCP-173 will be out of control. Please use it carefully. It's a big killer. Looking at the information in the system, Lin Xiu thought of some rumors circulating in the Foundation. Little Peanut is just a shell sculpture, and the power above K level is sealed inside, which is extremely terrifying. This is why SCP-682 is afraid of him. Unfortunately, the second state is uncontrollable. Lin Xiu shook his head. After the high-level projection comes, it is definitely an XK-class catastrophe. If you play Bong, it is easy to take more than half of the Earth into it. Definitely have to be more cautious. Let's contain it first. Lin Xiu instructed the D-class personnel under him. Just in case, he still chose the way in the Foundation. Lock Peanut in a locked room. Ding! Containment of SCP-173 complete. Is it starting to draw the third contained item for exposure and coming? Weather. Lin Xiu, who is familiar with the road, ticked it directly. After turning around for a while, a name that was both familiar and unfamiliar appeared in the field of vision. It's actually it. Lin Xiu frowned, his face a bit ugly. He didn't know whether to say he was lucky or unlucky to draw this contained object so quickly. System. Can I choose where the containment falls? The host can only choose the delivery interval, not the specific location. The light curtain unfolded. The miniature phantom of the Earth unfolded in front of Lin Xiu, and the cursor was dotted, covering a city at every turn. Is it based on the city? Lin Xiu blinked, understood in seconds, skipped the ancient country on the other side of the ocean, and went down a little in the land of Yingjiang. Free America. Shootouts every day. Yingjiang is so powerful, he will definitely be able to withstand it. Lin Xiu randomly clicked on the screen and locked his target on the hinterland of Yingjiang. Anyway, he is in the pocket space, which is equivalent to another dimension, and if he really loses control, it will not harm him. Lin Xiu said he was fearless. SHIELD. A****. Waste. So much money approved every year. What are you doing with it? Nick Fury gasped wildly. Is it easy for him to get funds from those old foxes in the Security Council every day? As a result, his subordinates actually raised a bunch of tax thieves, and the huge Foundation organization couldn't find any information. In the report uploaded by the Intelligence Department, not even a trace of cobweb was found. This is a large organization. The material consumption caused by people eating horseshoes is not rare, let alone those advanced technological machinery. Such a large organization, it is impossible to exist in a different space. So many mechanical equipment can't just appear out of thin air, right? These idiots actually told him that there was no trace? The stewed egg was about to faint. At least, more than 500. Nick Fury stared at the words on the document, his face extremely heavy. SCP-500. If it is coded normally, there will be at least 499 before this, and I don't know how many there will be in the future. Such a terrifying existence. They SHIELD actually don't know anything about it. Nick Fury felt his eyes go black just thinking about it. Director, we may have new problems. The beautiful secretary next to her took a deep breath, pointed at the light curtain outside, with love and hate on her face. The new exposure has started again. What? So fast? Nick Fury's face darkened. Before Natasha Romanoff and the others had time to come back, the pictures on the screen began to update again. This speed, it's simply numbing. According to the previous two precedents, these so-called contained things are all extremely powerful things, either weird or miraculous, and they're absolutely cherished in terms of value. But how often is the screen refreshed? So high. Nick Fury was surprised by the details of the glimpse. And what will happen this time? The power of the contained object fascinates people, hoping that it will be powerful, but fearing its terrifying power. Let the captain and the others return as soon as possible, and let the various subbases operate at full capacity. Be sure to lock the location of the contained object as soon as it arrives, and respond as soon as possible. After issuing the highest order, Nick Fury turned and walked towards the higher secret room. The situation is getting more and more chaotic. The power of SHIELD is no longer enough to cope with the sudden changes in the world. He needs new power, the things that can help him gain a part of power to join. The countdown to the exposure of the third container. 0 hours and 59 minutes. Damn it, time flies so fast. Putting away the steel battle suit, Tony, who had just returned home not long ago, turned dark. He also wants to open a champagne bath. Result: the countdown on the screen is coming to an end. This speed, absolutely nothing. The anti-peanut armor has just made a draft, and the specific design ideas have not been sorted out. In the end, a new containment object appeared again. Who can stand it? I hope it is a panacea-like item, so that such weird creatures will not appear again. Tony's mouth twitched slightly. He was really powerless to deal with such unreasonable things. Supreme Mage, the screen is about to be refreshed. Back to Modu, in Kamartaj, I looked up and saw the countdown to the end of the sky. New containment? Ancient One frowned. His face was not very good-looking. Supreme Mage, what will be the next contained object? Is it a horrible creature that will bring disaster, or the same rare treasure as the first time? Where will it descend? Kamartaj's apprentice, Mage, all looked expectantly at Ancient One. We all know. The Supreme Mage who controls the Eye of Agamotto has the power to spy on time. If you can lock the quality of the next contained object and then lay down in an ambush in advance, then you will make a lot of money. In the eyes of everyone's anticipation, Ancient One shook his head. I can't spy, whether it's the location or good or bad. The future of the contained objects is all blank, as if some kind of terrifying power has erased this part of existence from the long river of time. If she forcibly watches, it may even provoke the counterattack of those terrifying things. Even she is powerless to resist. Let time bear witness. Ancient One whispered softly and slowly put on the hood behind him, shrouded in shadows. The extension of the dragon-shaped pupil membrane in the fundus is more complex. Gotham City. Get rid of one. Wearing a bat battle suit, Wayne has just taken down a villain trying to disrupt order. He took out his mobile phone and dialed, and asked someone to come and take him into custody. The screen goes off, and the clock in the corner keeps ticking, making it impossible to ignore. A new containment coming. Bruce frowned slightly, with a solemn expression on his face. He had tested this sudden thing countless times, and any known means could not affect it. The opponent's hacking technology is like a ghost walking in the network, which is completely ahead of the times. It simply shouldn't be the level it should be in this era. Regarding the screen across the sky, I also asked my friend Superman test it, but the result is that it cannot be affected. With Superman's unimaginable strength, he can't affect half of it, as if they are not in the same dimension. It is definitely not the so-called holographic projection technology, but some kind of concept beyond imagination. If this power is present in Gotham City. Bruce's face was low and his eyes were very serious, trying to find a solution. If a similar weird containment is replaced by him, what measures should be taken to deal with it? It is not difficult to suppress the horror doll for a short time. But once and for all, how to do it? What else is hidden under the mist of the iceberg? What kind of power it will have? And how to solve it? Thousands of thoughts entangled in his mind. Far more interesting than a few supervillains here and there. Calm down to think of a solution. With his head down, Bruce crossed the sky like a bat under the cover of night. Ding! Time to 0. Exposure. The third containment item SCP-008. Prion. As the light curtain lights up, a ribbon diagram of a complex tertiary structure emerges from the rotating screen. All kinds of colors are like thin threads of entangled, constantly ribbons, intertwined into strings. Just a glance. It just makes people feel dizzy. The amount of information loaded is too large, and there's an indescribable nausea. It is the feeling of being shocked by knowledge. Then what is that thing? The scalp is so itchy, damn it. I'm going to grow my brain. Fart, you didn't wash your hair. I don't understand. I don't understand at all. Is there any medical professional to explain? Didn't it expose the contents? How did it become a virus? From the moment the picture appeared on the screen, countless information flooded into the internet instantly. Excessive loading directly causes the internet to crash and disconnect. Virus. Could it be that the contained object this time is some kind of virus creature? Tony frowned. The word prion gave him a bad feeling. He is not only proficient in battlesuit manufacturing, but also has a top IQ. Even in medicine and pathology, he also has extremely high attainments. The complicated 3-level color band map. What others see is just dizziness, but in his eyes it is endless danger. JRVS. Before Tony could summon the AI assistant to start analyzing the virus sequence spectrum, on the screen, new content has appeared again. While the structure diagram of SCP-008 was turning, deep voices and words appeared one after another. As an attached description, SCP-008 is a complex prion. Object class, Euclid. Contagious 100%. Lethal 100%. Transmitted through the exposed mucous membranes and all body fluids of the infected person, but not in the air and water. The picture is stretched. Simple structure diagrams are scaled to a corner. SCP-008 disappeared, and when the screen turned on again, countless figures with pale green skin appeared in the center, like walking corpses. The eyes are dull, body sluggish. Roar, lost his mind like the beast, instinctively biting and eating the surrounding creatures. The terrifying virus began to spread through saliva. In less than a blink of an eye, the original number of patients has expanded to millions, and it is still expanding to the periphery at an exponential rate with an unstoppable momentum. The terrifying quantity made people feel tense. F***K. What the hell is this? Prion? This is obviously a zombie virus. What joke are you looking at? A 100% zombie virus. No, I'm going to the underground shelter. Brother, take me. The internet, which was still watching the excitement, exploded in an instant when the contained objects actually arrived. SCP-008 Prion. Not many people have heard of this relatively uncommon name, but to most people, the zombie virus is like a thunderbolt. Once it gets out of control, it will be the end of the world. For this power, human whimsy has never failed, and a theme that matches the zombie virus. Basically, doomsday. Doomsday. Netizens who were still blowing water just now had their eyes popped in shock. This is a zombie virus. If it wasn't for the fact that the exposed content said that it would not be transmitted through air and water, 99% of people would rush to buy it first. Source of water. Many people made up their minds to squat in the closed space and wait for the situation to be resolved before climbing out. For a while, prices are soaring everywhere, especially food-related. Prion? Zombie viruses? It really is this thing. Tony slammed his fist on the table. The text on the screen is extremely dazzling. The infection rate is 100%. The fatality rate is 100%. Once this power gets out of control, the Earth will definitely encounter unimaginable and unprecedented catastrophe. For human beings, it is no less than nuclear weapons out of control. In various doomsday disaster films, there have been countless descriptions of this highly contagious and lethal virus. There is no need to say anything about its horror. No, must find this place ASAP. Tony activated the highest authorization for JRVS and compared the streets that fit the picture through big data. Military, Damn it, how could such a thing exist? And in this style, the place where the containment landed this time is the Empire again. The top military officials were almost in tears. Those politicians with big bellies can't do anything, except they're full of nonsense and flirting with women, and they have to wipe their asses by the military. And now, even the zombie virus has been thrown out. The location of the arrival is in the Empire, and it looks like a very prosperous street. If it is not well controlled, even the stability of the regime may be shifted, which instantly makes countless elites feel anxious. You can question the badness of the eagle sauce, but you must not laugh at the stupidity of the eagle sauce. At the first moment of the screen broadcast, the military made up its mind to prevent the spread of the virus at all costs. Imperial Prison. General Ross, you can get out of prison. The position is business as usual and has the right to call the army to execute it. An officer with epaulets opened the cell door for interrogation, handed the folder to Ross. Is it a zombie virus? Ross flipped through the appointment letter casually and knew it in his heart. Attitude of the military. It could be seen from the reactivation of his radical. In the first incident, he was a lunatic who wanted to overdraw the subnuclear bomb. May I bear the name of killing? Ross curled his lips in disdain and saw through the tricks of the high-level military at a glance. Is the location locked? Yes, General. According to the comparison, the outbreak point of SCP-008 should be New York, Queens. The Fall of Queens. Nick Fury is as gloomy as water, and this is definitely the biggest crisis SHIELD has ever faced since its formation. It can be called the end of the world, the Doomsday Crisis. SCP-008-008. No. I seem to have heard of this number. The corners of his mouth murmured and repeated, and while he was chanting, Nick Fury's eyes suddenly lit up. Director? Natasha Romanoff looked up. Must the braised egg be driven crazy? This is a containment item that has just been exposed. Whereas he heard the relevant name. If the people in the intelligence department had this kind of ability, they wouldn't be able to lay off half of the staff. Right under the suspicious gaze of Natasha Romanoff, Nick Fury excitedly pulled out a set of document bags, quickly opened them, and flipped through to the number of pages he wanted. For infection with SCP-008. Zombie virus. Tests conducted by D-Class personnel have shown that even in the advanced stages of the disease, a single dose can completely cure it. Right? That's right. It is the panacea. When exposing SCP-500 before, the pathogen used for testing was SCP-008. Prion. Zombie virus. It's a thing. And the panacea, they happen to have it in their hands. Only a third. Natasha Romanoff ruthlessly poured cold water on her mouth. Even if the medicine works, it's not enough. In the broadcast screen, the number of zombies is constantly increasing, which has already broken through the 100,000 mark and is heading toward 1 million. Real. A drop in the bucket. We can reproduce it. The biggest advantage of science is the industrial chain. As long as the formula and solution are found, with the development speed of modern technology, mass allocation can be achieved in an instant, especially under the power of the state. Nation has the power to move mountains and fill seas. Don't underestimate every country with a highly unified regime. Turn over all the elixir powder you got at Tony. We need his wisdom. Nick Fury said, but the director, the Avengers plan we proposed earlier was rejected by him. Phil Coulson scratched his head in embarrassment. Although Howard's relic was sent over, Tony still rejected his proposal flatly. The tone is quite firm. That rich playboy is not an easy person to deal with. This time, he'll agree he's Stark and Iron Man. Braised Egg's attitude is very firm. Straight to Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson with a secret escort in case of an accident. Now, it depends on the survival time of the infected person. Can we persist until the development of new drugs? His deep voice echoed in the empty office. Stark Building. Tony just received an express mail before he had time to open the research. The system alarm flashing light suddenly sounded next to it. Gentlemen, nuclear strike detected in transit. Scare. Tony was taken aback. The place where he is the center of the empire. Launching a nuclear bomb to this place? Is this the end of the world, triggering nuclear blackmail, all kinds of nuclear bombs flying around, directly plowing the ground, and entering a nuclear winter? After JRVIS entered a series of information, Tony's face softened a little, but the anger in his eyes burst out directly. You said someone targeted Queens with a nuclear bomb? Want to use a nuclear bomb to blow up the zombies directly? Yes, sir. The order from the information network is like this. It has been temporarily intercepted by the system, and the fake IP page can be hidden from the other party for at most 3 minutes. Mechanical sounds sounded around, cold and austere. It's you. Tony glared at Phil Coulson. SHIELD absolutely has this power. How come? It's definitely not us. Before Phil Coulson had time to marvel, Tony, a lawless guy, actually monitored the interception of the nuclear bomb network and was suppressed by the Black Pot, and he quickly shook his head in denial. If we have this purpose, it is impossible to come up with the panacea powder, which is a panacea that can cure all diseases. Phil Coulson emphasized. SCP-500. Tony looked at the things in front of him, his face slightly relaxed. Phil Coulson managed to get some information through SHIELD's internal network. Military. The military reused that lunatic, Ross. The release of the nuclear bomb was his personal decision, and it has been found to be intercepted. Good old Phil Coulson couldn't help but look bad. I didn't expect the military to start so darkly. Private decision? Tony scoffed and didn't believe this excuse at all, let alone the cloud bomb. If such a big killer as a nuclear bomb could be mobilized privately by Ross alone, then the Empire would be completely hopeless. This kind of trick, fooling children would not believe it. Against Tony's disdainful gaze, Phil Coulson still bit the bullet and spoke. The nuclear bomb. Although it was barely stopped, the director meant that the high-level military may not stop like this. We may only have 24 hours left. If we can't solve the zombie frenzy before the new day comes, they don't rule out the possibility of continuing to use this plan to deal with it. The zombie virus must not spread out of Queens. This is not only the military, but also the bottom line of the Empire. A*****. Tony slapped the table, gritted his teeth angrily. This is a nuclear bomb. The group of high-level officials obviously held the attitude of killing them. Once the attack was detonated, more civilians would die tragically under human weapons than in natural disasters. Million? Given the population density of Queens and the determination of those people to break the boat. Just in case, Tony was not surprised to expand the attack range and directly annihilate tens of millions of people. The subsequent loss and impact are even more immeasurable. Tony could already see how soon the president would be pushed to take the blame. Can't they do some personnel work? Tony was outraged. The contagion of SCP-008 is too terrifying. If it is allowed to develop, not only the Empire, but even a world may fall under the zombie frenzy. Natasha Romanoff's voice was a little cold. She who came out of the Red House is definitely a qualified agent character. Nuclear bombing, although it sounds outrageous, is definitely the most concise and effective solution to a certain extent. For others who are not infected, zombies are not scary. The power of modern technology is enough to destroy their stiff bodies. They are highly contagious and lethal. They're the most terrifying things. If they cannot be destroyed as soon as possible, once they spread, they will definitely form a terrifying natural disaster. The nuclear bomb that destroys the surface is definitely the most effective means of annihilation. Once and for all, this is in line with the high-level means. At a certain height, human life is just a number to weigh, and anyone will choose to sacrifice 10 million to save 7 billion. I'll take care of it. Tony's muffled voice sounded. He also knows that in the era of sudden changes, this choice is beyond reproach. But it's Iron Man. I'll save them. Tony whispered softly, like a promise, but also like speaking to himself. He will use his brain cursed by knowledge to develop the vaccine and antidote for SCP-008. But before that, he still needs to connect with a friend who can stand shoulder to shoulder with him in every aspect. Let him never meet again. JRV, yes. Yes, sir. Gotham City. Zombie virus? Panacea? Research vaccines, antidote. After hanging up the phone in his hand, Bruce murmured with an indescribably serious expression on his face. It was Tony Stark's invitation. The rich second generation who are equally wealthy and have the highest IQ, they definitely know each other in the same country. Not to mention the high-level reception. They have met countless times. The top-level circle is so small, it is difficult not to know each other. Not to mention that to a certain extent, the two of them can be said to be one body with two sides. They are so similar. It seems that the eradication of evil has taken a while. Bruce, who put on a battle suit to maintain peace, decisively changed today's itinerary. Time is limited. I need new transportation. Bruce narrowed his eyes slightly. Whether it was the Batmobile or a private jet, it took a lot of time to go to Queens. A few hours, in the only 24 hours, was already very cherished. This kind of waste is too extravagant, and Bruce definitely wants to avoid it as much as possible. If he remembered correctly, another good friend of his happened to be in Gotham right now. It's definitely no problem to take a ride with the wind. Mutant school. Zombie frenzy? Professor X stood on the ground, and the elixir powder that Wolverine had seized cured his lower body paralysis. Although it is not a complete recovery, standing up normally is no longer a problem, but strenuous exercise is a bit difficult. Professor, those guys are starting again. Storm walked over with a frown. The outside of Mutant Academy was already in chaos. Eric, Professor X frowned. Originally, he was going to Queens to see if he could stop the spread of the zombie virus, but before he could go out, he was stopped by Magneto. If he wants to unify, then come. Magneto wants to take advantage of the unprecedented catastrophe, unify the power of mutant, seize the position strongly, shape mutants' exclusive hegemony, eliminate poverty and inequality, and create a world with only mutant. Coincidentally, he also wanted to be in this mess. Let mutant come to the fore. Let the regimes recognize their status. Stark Industrial Building. All kinds of light curtains and high-tech projections are constantly changing with Tony's fingertips. The dizzying torrent of technology, like the special effects of a movie, makes people dizzy. Even the agents of SHIELD are stunned. This kind of technology exists on the Earth? Tony's face was still ugly. Even uglier. Even the virus map of SCP-008 was exposed on the screen, and the 3-level color band map was fully revealed. But wanting to achieve a breakthrough in a very short period of time is undoubtedly a dream. Not to mention obtaining antidote and vaccine. Arrive. Tony, who was so busy, raised his head with some surprise in his eyes. He arrived so soon after only 2 cups of coffee? JRVS. According to the request in the headset communication, Tony opened the landing point of the floor-to-ceiling windows on the top floor. Call out. Tearing air sounds. A big muscle bully wearing underwear flew in from the outside. And Bruce, who was waiting for him, happened to sit on the other side, and Red's cloak was pressed down. This is your friend? To be precise, a close friend. Let's meet Superman Crick Kent. Bruce corrected bluntly. Seriously, as if the thing in his belt wasn't kryptonite. Crick, this is my friend, Tony Stark. Maybe you can call him Iron Man? Bruce turned his head and patted Superman on the shoulder, introducing Tony to him. Superman? Interesting title. Tony nodded and looked at Crick with a bit of sympathy. Having such a close friend, it should be very difficult at ordinary times. He knew Bruce's awkward character, and like him, he was instinctively wary of all superpowers. Just like he warehoused Curry and sealed an anti-Batman battle suit. With the power and strength that Crick just showed, Bruce must have also rehearsed in his mind the various ways to deal with him. To a certain extent, the two of them are really similar. No, Bruce is a good guy, the only one I can trust. Crick smiled, with a sunny smile on his face, like the sun shining on everything. It's an unexpected resemblance to a certain old antique. Tony curled his lips and couldn't help but think of a certain boy model with big buttocks. But now is obviously not the time to worry about these things. We're running out of time. Tony looked serious. Yeah, I know. Bruce nodded. Studio. The two looked at the test data in unison. Even if there is an exposure video, which reveals the 3-level color band map of SCP-008, which greatly reduces the difficulty of corresponding research, as well as the information mentioned in the previous content. The SCP-500 panacea can completely cure this disease, but this kind of medical treatment is obviously still very difficult. Time is too short. Bruce frowned. In less than 24 hours, even if both he and Tony have incredible wisdom, it will be difficult to achieve results. Science is never something that can be achieved overnight, especially life science. Only long-term accumulation can give birth to a leap-forward explosion. Such a short amount of time is not enough to even research a cold medicine, let alone solve the zombie virus. We have no choice. Tony shook his head, his face very serious. No matter how difficult it is, someone has to do it. Millions, even tens of millions of civilians are waiting for them to save. If only I had more time. Bruce just muttered a word and continued to immerse himself in the research. Various reagents and drafts were flying in his hands. He was obviously very familiar with Tony's studio, and it was not the first time the two had come into contact. Perhaps you need help, just when the atmosphere was getting low. A vortex of fire continued to expand, and a figure in a yellow robe, accompanied by another man with a dazed expression, walked out of the portal with an unforgettable demeanor. Exalted mage, Tony blurted out a surprised voice. SCP-008 is outside the isolation line. A large number of soldiers with live ammunition and heavy laser weapons have aimed at every exit, completely blocking the market. Captain, are you really going to Queens? The virus inside has already begun to spread, and the surrounding area is completely blocked by the military. Even if I can put you in, it is impossible to bring you out before SCP-008 is resolved. Nick Fury's face was a little dignified. Queens has become popular and marked as a very high-risk location, even though he resisted the pressure and stopped the nuclear bombing. It can also persist for 24 hours at most. When the time is up, the Security Council will definitely act on its own. If Captain America is put in Queens now, after the time is up, Tony and the others have not developed an antidote, and Captain America is very likely to be bombarded by nuclear bombs just like common civilians. Don't underestimate the conscience of those high-level people. Stability trumps everything. I must go. Steve's expression is determined. In Queens, there are still many uninfected people, and the order inside is already in a semi-paralyzed state. If no one maintains order, it will only make things worse. And we need morale. Ambitious people have never been in the minority. If the matter of a nuclear bomb strike is leaked out, the consequences will be unimaginable. With a high-level concern for stability, if there's a riot, the nuclear bomb will be launched in advance just in case. In Queens, where the order is half broken, the people obviously need confidence more than supplies. Governments will not give up their confidence. To some extent, he, who has been deified as a symbol of the American spirit, can just shoulder this confidence. Iron Man is fighting. How can Captain America stand still? Holding the shock gold shield in one hand, Steve rushed towards Queens without looking back. Within Queens. I'll go, there are too many zombies. Hey, brother, don't bite me. Brother over there, give up your position and let me pass by. The cobweb keeps spraying from the hand launcher. With white turbid filaments dangling one by one, Peter shuttles easily among tall buildings, like Tarzan of the ape in the forest. With his unique spider telepathy, he is like a fish in water in this environment. Oh my God, look what I saw. Zombies actually gather into groups? Could it be a wise zombie leader appeared? Just as Peter was swinging the cobweb back and forth, he suddenly noticed an abnormality in front of him with sharp eyes. Zombies. A high concentration of zombies. The concentration of zombies in front of them was significantly higher than other places. The zombies that were circling aimlessly on the street, like cats that smelled fishy, began to gather toward a certain point in the center. The more zombies gathered, it was obvious that something was wrong. There is a situation. Peter, who was swinging the cobweb, stared. Do you want to go and see? Peter muttered to himself, although it was a question, but he obviously had no other choice. As one of the few living people on the street, don't look at him with a free and easy face, constantly swinging the cobweb around, and taking out his camera to take pictures from time to time, not forgetting to complete his work as a reporter. But the mood inside is definitely not good, even a little panicked. No matter who comes to Awakening, they will be stunned when they find that their home is within the scope of the zombie frenzy. Even Superhero is no exception. Zombie frenzy. This is something that appears in various doomsday movies. The pictures on the sky screen were continuously transcribed, and Peter already knew that the entire Queens district was blocked and fell under the zombie frenzy, and countless civilians could only shiver in the room. He took the risk to come out at such a time just to investigate the situation and see if he could find a way to break the situation while maintaining justice. Peter definitely would not let go of such a weird place. Little Spider-Man, be fearless. SHHHHH. A few cobwebs ejected, and Peter swung out directly. With agility skill, he easily kicked away some SCP-008 infected people and rescued some survivors. He didn't care about their words of thanks and swung directly into the depths of the zombie circle. Damn, what is that? How could there be such a thing in Lost? Monster, it's just a monster. It's not a zombie at all. It's the call of Cthulhu, right? Spider-Man, be careful. Run out. The screen broadcasted on the screen made countless people sweat in a cold sweat. Their eyes widened as if they had received a huge shock. For a while, the information on the network was iterative, and a terrifying torrent of bullet screens directly overwhelmed the server. Countless people roared through the internet, trying to remind the little Spider-Man who was about to rush in on the screen. However, Peter, who didn't hold his mobile phone, obviously couldn't see these prompts. Twisted creatures. Odin frowned. This mixed feeling of evil made him feel like he saw a demon in hell. The spear of eternity in his hand was shining brightly. Rune's words bloomed brilliantly, and at some point he didn't mind taking shots. No matter how Midgard is, it is also one of the 9 realms, and Odin definitely understands the reason why the lips are dead and the teeth are cold. Queens. No, speed up. Steve frowned as he waved the vibranium shield in his hand and knocked away several zombies. Breaking through the outer line of defense and rushing inward, his speed increased a bit. He wasn't even interested in dealing with the zombies that gathered, so he relied on his super soldier's body to throw them away with his speed. War. There are so many zombies here. I feel like I will meet a big guy. Peter frowned. As we went deeper, the sense of danger from spider telepathy became stronger. But Peter, who has advanced here, obviously cannot choose to retreat. Use the cobweb to tie up 2 zombies as a weapon and swing around. Entangle the other walking dead that are rushing. Among the zombies, Peter moved more cautiously. After a corner, my F***K. What the hell is this? Peter's eyes widened. In the frenzy of tens of thousands of zombies, Green's corpses clustered in the center. Ferocious tentacles soared into the sky, showing off their power in midair, waving their thick hands like octopus tentacles. With a single wave, it can tear apart a 100-meter-high building. The tentacles are constantly zooming in and out in the frenzy. The sound of metal rubbing against each other is very ear-piercing, and the distorted appearance is very similar to the outer god Cthulhu described by the novelist. Cthulhu. Peter was numb. No. Shaking his head, Peter finally realized something was wrong. You are Otto. Familiar metal arms, chubby appearance, and a bit highly myopic appearance with thick goggles. This is obviously his nemesis, Dr. Octopus. Otto Gunther Octavius. You were also attacked by this damn virus? Peter's face was a little uncomfortable. After being infected with SCP-008, Dr. Octopus is really primordial. Not only the mechanical arm has become more powerful, but even the appearance has changed a lot. The veins on the head are exposed, and the blood vessels are glowing with purple-green. The head was enlarged, as if it had undergone some kind of distortion, resembling an octopus, which was why Peter mistook it first. What do you want to gather so many zombies? Otto, are you crazy? Peter stared and growled questioningly. No matter how Dr. Octopus is controlled, the countless zombies around him are not fake. At a glance, there are more than 100,000, and the number is still gathering. Such terrifying power was controlled by the other party, and Peter felt terrified just thinking about it. Crazy? I'm not crazy. It is this world that has been abandoned. Dr. Octopus, who is suspected to be infected with SCP-008, although his body is somewhat deformed, his mind is unexpectedly clear, which is fundamentally different from those zombies who have lost their minds. Facing Peter's questioning, he said it was Wang Jia. You and me, even the entire Queen's District, is an outcast. We are all abandoned. We are partners on the same front. Peter, come with me. Join the glorious evolution. The frenzied voice of Dr. Octopus rang out. 4 metal tentacles extended from him, 2 injected into the zombie, absorbing unknown energy, and the other 2 attacked Peter with flickering and terrifying power. The metal accumulated in the ruins and formed new tentacles behind him. True to its name, Octopus. Damn. Peter swung the cobweb, shuttled with the help of high-rise buildings, and avoided the attack of mechanical tentacles. He had already been bitten by a spider, so he didn't want to be attacked by the zombie virus again. Take back what you just said. Sure enough, you are still brain-destroyed by this ghost thing. Although he dodged in a panic, it obviously didn't affect Peter's poisonous tongue. Innocent, Dr. Octopus' expression remains unchanged. Are you still waiting with hope for those high-level politicians? I can assure you, the countdown to the destruction of Queens has already begun. When the time is up, everyone will be reduced to ashes and wreckage under artillery fire. Death is the only way back. If it doesn't work, you can go and see those counselors and high-level officials living in Queens. The places where they used to live should have become empty shells. Dr. Octopus looked contemptuous. If the higher-ups wanted to save it, it would be impossible to condone Queens into chaos. Only by being abandoned can chaos come. Otherwise, the army stationed outside would come in, and the mere zombie frenzy would have been suppressed long ago. This is impossible. Peter's instincts are not good enough. No one can accept that he has become an outcast of times. But you already believed it. The distorted voice of Dr. Octopus sounded. The one who is most familiar with you will always be your enemy. What? The high command of the Empire has given up Queens. How is it possible? Where is the confidant of the Empire? At least tens of millions of people. Could it be true? I have seen military martial law around me, and there is no delivery of supplies. Damn, they won't make a move soon, will they? UB asterisk 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 D. I want to die together. I absolutely don't want to sit and be killed. With the screen broadcast, Dr. Octopus' demagogic words spread to the internet, especially to residents living in Queens. Countless people instantly turned red-eyed. In a country where guns are legal, there are definitely not a few people who own guns. Once a riot breaks out, the terrifying impact will be difficult for even the army to control. There are too many ants, and they will kill elephants. What's more, these people may be carrying SCP-008 on their bodies. Once it breaks out, the consequences will be unimaginable. The situation is at stake. Military, nuclear launch preparation. At the first sign of riot, launch at all costs. Ross looked grimly at the screen. In front of them are stacks of temporary authority appointment letters. Locked in Queens, he can carry out all military strikes, including but not limited to nukes. With the broadcast of screen images and fermenting of online public opinion, it seemed that the situation was about to develop in an uncontrollable direction. Ross immediately chose to plan a repeat. Now, there was no Tony to stop him. Fake IP address blocking, this simple trick, only works the first time. Hell, humans are indeed the creatures that are best at destruction. Moto Faith awoke from sleep. The strong breath of death caused even him, the Hell Lord, to blink. But containment? Foundation? An incredible existence has appeared on the earth again. The devil's ferocious eyes showed fear. He originally planned to go to the earth in real body and find a delicious soul to sign the contract. Looking at the picture on the sky, he really gave up the idea. He has a long life. Not urgent. No rush at all. Just turn on a projection to go there. No need to take risks. It's best to peep at the screen secretly. The Queen, in the frenzy of gathered zombies. Under the attack of the metal tentacles, Peter seemed a little difficult to cope with, especially when the opponent had a lot of zombies to help out, and he had to be careful not to be cut by the zombies. Relying entirely on Cobweb, dealing with spider telepathy. Give up. We are in the same camp. Join the glorious evolution. And give those hypocritical guys some color. Let them see the power of the abandoned. Dr. Octopus' voice sounded. In such a frightening environment like Queens, the bewitching effect is fully stacked. Seeing that the atmosphere is getting more and more terrifying and the comments on the internet are getting more and more radical, just when the last string of reason is about to break, finally, a new character has appeared. Abandoned? Abandoned. You are just bewitching people. The Empire will never give up on any people. I, Steve Rogers, live and die with everyone in Queens. I guarantee it with my life. The spinning vibranium shield flew from the sky, passed through the flying mechanical tentacles, and slammed Dr. Octopus on the head, interrupting his malicious and demagogic speech, and waited until the shield spun back. Captain America is already standing on a building wreck. Look straight into the zombie frenzy. The stars and stripes tights on his body are very eye-catching among the miserable green zombies. The firm gaze is like the American spirit endowed to him. He has been promoted as an idol for nearly 70 years, and the appearance of Steve originally is a kind of belief. The people in Queens, who were originally flustered, calmed down a little because of his appearance. Like a pot of boiling water, barely cooled down.